My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. I'm only here to even a score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. We down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is on up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is on up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
What up, Night Nation? It's happening! Welcome to the 91's podcast, episode number 100. We've made it to 100 thanks to you. It's a special episode. We'll have some special guests joining us a little bit later. As a reminder, we're the only podcast that features a former UCF national champion, a former UCF radio host, an ESPN analyst and hoops player, an infamous, yes, that's infamous rapper who we're going to have to yell at because we haven't heard any raps this season yet. Our resident influencer and IG star, Shooting the Breeze, talking UCF sports. Remember to like and follow us on YouTube, IG, and check out the 70-plus teams and conferences on the College Huddle. This week, we are going to be talking about a game. There were some ups, there were some downs, but a win is better than a loss, and we definitely won. We survived the rain. I was in the stands. I hope you were there too. We had a streaker that got tackled in the middle of that rainstorm. The students were running around the top of the stadium. It was mayhem, but it was a lot of fun with the win. We've come with some answers and we've come with some questions this week. So we'll give you a review of this past week's game against Jacksonville State. Then we'll give you a preview of next week's game against NC&T. And then we'll have the Big 12 score review, some other UCF news. We'll hit out some listener love, give you score predictions. Alan will give us his oxymoronic stat of the week, and Josh will give us our sometimes funny fact of the week. And we'll have a quick update on other UCF sports. So without further ado, let's get it started. We've got Nobra this week, which means the quality of production immediately went up. Welcome to the stage, Nobra.
Hey now.
Hey now. Good to
100.
see you, bro. Let me get a hair flip because we don't do that justice. All right, next to the stage, a man who is the tallest man in all of UCF podcasts, standing 7'1" or 2 or 3 or 7. It doesn't matter. Well, I look like a midget when I stand beside him. Ben Stout, welcome to the stage.
What's up? What's up? Ready for number 100? Just like I'm 7'1", 100, baby. Let's go.
I knew. I thought I remembered 7'1". I wasn't sure. Still the tallest guy in Publix, right? So
that's right.
So thank you for joining us. Next, a man who needs no introduction, someone who is a natty champion, although he doesn't claim it. Trey Neal, welcome back to the stage.
Gentlemen, what's up? What's up? How you doing?
Good to see you, bro. Can't wait to hear you talk about those DBs and LBs this week. That defense got some highs and lows and a lot of speed. So I'm excited to talk about that as well. Next to the stage, someone you should all know from the very, very beginning, good friend of mine and the good friend of the show, Andrew.
Hey, how you guys doing? Congratulations on number 100. That's
number
awesome.
100. Can't believe
Big
we
deal.
made it. Yep, excited. Not as many as we put out for Nightline, but we're slowly climbing that ladder. Next to the stage, someone who you should all know is UCF football updates. Alan Levin, welcome back to the stage.
Honored to be here for episode 100. We made it a long way and we're still around, so it's awesome for this milestone moment, boys.
There you go. And we did celebrate this past week, so we'll tell some stories there. And then we've got, last but not least, but always last, Josh Lazar.
Let's see if my new setup works. Hello, world. Can everyone hear me?
We can.
Pretty well. Nice
No-
picture.
Thank you. No, sorry. I was going to do a little bit of a rap today, but no, I can't after that game. I'm sorry. Maybe next week. Maybe
All right.
I'll feel it.
Not maybe. Next
Not in my
week we're
heart.
going to hold you to it. All right. So for
in my
now,
heart.
let's go ahead. You mentioned the game, and now that we're back in football season, we'll get back to football form. And we always start the show with a little something we call text talk. So, guys, your favorite or in-favorite or funny text that you took from the football game. Let's go ahead and start with Alan. What was your text talk for this week?
Josh's picture of sausage and pancakes and bacon for
And how does that relate to the football game?
I thought it was anything we wanted. All right. If it's not that, then I would say someone just wrote the word penalties, and that for me was something that just was a reoccurring theme, and we all kind of talked about it. But I mean, I'm going to get into it when we talk about the actual game. So for me, it was definitely, just all the multiple complaints from all 6 of us on penalties, just because there's a lot to talk about in that for that part of the game.
Yeah, I'm curious from you guys. Have you ever seen another game where there were 3 targeting calls in one game, let alone the first game of the season?
Not that I can remember.
There's been a lot so far in the rest of the games as well. I think it's becoming a common thing, unfortunately.
Point of emphasis, maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely they're looking at it a lot closer. It seems like I watched a lot of football this weekend, so.
Yeah,
All right.
And truth be told, I don't think I've seen 2. Like maybe once. Like it was, and 2 of them.
Yeah, not in one game.
That
was weird.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Ben Stout, what is your text talk for this week?
All right, found one at the last minute. It's Josh late in the game where he says, "Great downfield blocking again." I think that was one of the signatures of Scott Frost's first stint here at UCF. The kind of, I don't know if he invented the phrase, but the no block, no rock mentality or whatever. Just that last touchdown, seeing a guy like Miles Montgomery, who was the clear offensive MVP of the game. There's no doubt about that, in my opinion. Him just delivering that downfield block to spring the receiver for the score there to clinch it. I think that was a great moment in a game that didn't have, a whole lot of great moments on offense, I think. But, that certainly was some flashes of good things, hopefully, to come. That downfield block was special, in my opinion.
Well, we'll definitely get into that and talk about the offense. It wasn't as offensive all the time, and it got better as the game went on. But we're going to have to pause for a different reason, and we have the leader of Night Nation, someone who's spent the multiple decades covering UCF, is the person who has the most knowledge about UCF that I've ever met, and someone who is a good friend. Let's welcome to the show, Brandon Helwig is joining us all the way from Orlando. Welcome to the show, Brandon.
Woohoo!
Hey guys, how's it going? How are you?
Hey.
Good, man. Happy 100. You started with us, and now 100 episodes later, you came back to join us. We appreciate you joining us for this show. Obviously, we've got a little bit of football that we were getting into about the game. And, first of all, just want to say thank you. All of us wouldn't have met without you. And it's not just about the news that you bring to the table, but the community that you've built. And that really is a labor of love and something that all of us appreciate. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving us the time, and love to hear what you thought of this football game, because we're going to get into it and give our thoughts too.
I mean, thank God UCF won, right? I mean, we were all like towards the end of the game, I'm looking over, I'm in the end zone. I'm kind of looking over at Terry Mahajer, and it was an intense fourth quarter, because you start going through your mind, if UCF, I mean, I don't know what our expectations really were anyway for this team. I mean, I was thinking maybe 6-6 was kind of a goal. But if you don't come out and at least get a W, I mean, we could talk about how close it was, but if you lose this game, I mean, who cares what national media says, or just the image of Scott Frost losing a game to a team that probably most people outside of, most people probably think is an FCS team, even though they're not in their Conference USA. but it was looking pretty bleak there. I think the point that a few people made, which is
How bad was Terry sweating? That's my question.
he was yeah.
Was he
you could tell
dripping?
He was sweating. It's kind of interesting because it's kind of a contrasting opinion, but like if this was a Gus team, the Gus team probably wins, but if it somehow was close, if it's a Gus team, like a Gus Malzahn coach team probably loses that game. But
really, you really think that it was interesting because, like, yeah, part of our text.
Gus chokes when the pressure's on. When the pressure's on, he can't handle it.
They probably would have blown them out with Gus, but if it was close, yeah, he would have lost.
Yeah, I know that's kind of a weird. I saw someone make that post. I'm like, you know what? You're exactly right. Like Gus probably wins going away, but if somehow it's close, Gus blows it down the stretch. I don't know.
Well, I think also the team gives up if Gus is the head coach. I think that's what you see is you don't see the perseverance that they showed down the stretch. I think that's something that's different with this. I saw, at least in the second half, that it seemed different from this year's team's energy versus certainly last year.
The energy was weird, though. It was a weird vibe in the stadium because of the delay and just it kind of like, it's always maybe like that a little bit in the first game. Like, oh, yeah, we're here again. It's a football season where I'm at a football game. It just when the delay happens and even before all that, just how sluggish the offense looked. I mean, it's been years since I think UCF fans kind of felt like they were back from an offensive standpoint. It kind of, I guess it's kind of a missed opportunity. It would have been great, at least when fans were still in the stands prior to the delay, if there would have been some explosive plays. That opening play of the game, if Fancher connects with Marcus Burke and that's a touchdown, something to get excited again, because it's been years since I felt like the edge that UCF had at home. I mean, that's been gone for a few years now, and I guess it's going to take some time to get that back. But the one regret I have, that Frost wasn't able to kind of put on a show that I bet he hoped he would have been able to do.
Well, I think the big thing for me, to your point about that first touchdown pass, I mean, I think that would have changed the dynamic of the whole game. Partially not just, talking about the energy and the vibe, but also talking about, putting them on their heels a little bit. They had no passing game. We talked about it last week. He had a 40% passer back there, and they were winning with the run game, which was interesting, and the option and, reverses and all of these other things, which is something that in Scott Frost's QB career, I mean, Trey can talk about this. He would be out there running the offense, doing triple option style, old Nebraska style offenses. And that's what they were basically playing, especially in the second half. And, when it came to the vibe in the stadium, I was there. I stayed. I was huddling under there. I was in the cabana. I found one place where the water wasn't dripping through from the bleachers coming through. I don't know how it worked out for you if you went back to the media room, but I was huddled underneath there, and I just kind of sat there for a couple of hours. But I agree with you. I made the comment actually in our text thread that the vibe was completely off, even from the opening kick. And part of it, I mean, we didn't even start with Zombie Nation. Like, I don't know what they were destroyed.
Okay, we can talk about the game day atmosphere just was completely off. Like, from the in-game production standpoint, just seemed off kilter for some reason. It was kind of bizarre. Like, you're waiting for the teams to run out, and there's usually a more – the intro video usually it builds up to a crescendo, and I'm like, is this the intro? Are they going to play something else? Where's Zombie Nation? And then, Frost just came out of the tunnel, and here's the team. It was no rhythm there. And I think sometimes you get that. I don't know how much the student body has turned over in terms of people who come to games, but it seems like students didn't know how to act. Like, it was kind of strange. Like, early in the game, like, they're in white, they follow directions, but they're not really doing anything. The atmosphere was really lacking, I thought, at least before the delay. And then when there was nothing to get excited about, and Jackson, it just kind of led to that sluggish feel.
I agree with you 100%. Like I said, I mentioned it in our text thread. I'm like, what is going on here? And then throughout the game, it was like, is this 2015? And
it felt like it at times. It really felt like it at times.
So I felt when it was like 10-10 or whatever, I was in the back of my head. I had was it Furman, right? Sorry, Trey. But
don't be sorry. He earned that loss.
PTSD.
He earned it.
But that's what I had in the back of my mind. I'm like, not this again, and thankfully not. But yeah,
Well, I mean, Brandon, you're on the sideline. One of the things I wanted to ask you, because you were on the sideline, obviously, and if you're not a member of the dungeon on On3, now that it's transitioned to On3, make sure that you're signing up. You had video clips from you on the sideline, and then Trey was on the sideline for a while as well. What I really want to get from the two of you, one of the things we've talked about ad nauseum is getting the culture back. It's been a focus for Scott Frost. It's one of the reasons for him to win. And one of the reasons we pointed to as to why we lost so many close games, especially last year, is getting the extra strain, having that culture. So what did it feel like on the sideline? Because it can be disheartening as a player is, usually you get to a point, if you're having a bad game, you get in rhythm and then stuff starts clicking. But it felt like every single drive that we had for a while until the fourth quarter, or late in the third, early fourth quarter, we did something to shoot ourselves in the foot, right? We had, even right before the second half, we were driving, we had that hit and we had that fumble, and that just pulled everything out right before the rain delay. It just seemed like we had someone off sides or, whatever, so what was that vibe like?
2 touchdowns called back for penalties or whatever. Just crazy. That's momentum killers.
Yeah. And
I'm
so
watching it again right now, actually, if you see me looking towards another screen, that's what I'm doing.
So Brandon, Trey, what did you guys think as far, you were on the sideline. What was the vibe like, especially compared to obviously I don't expect it to be 2017 vibe yet, because these guys haven't been together long enough. But what did you guys get? How did that compare?
Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, okay. I was waiting for you, Trey. I don't know. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's really fair to really critique it yet, because like I said, it was just the vibe seemed kind of off. We had the rain before the game. They didn't want the band on the field, and that kind of threw off the whole pregame, and the team didn't start well, and I don't know. It seemed off, but it was just one game. I'm anxious to see what it looks like. I know it's in North Carolina A&T, but to see what the vibe is against North Carolina, that's what I'm watching. Obviously, that game going on right now to the halftime, but even if North Carolina loses, I don't know how good they're going to be this year. But the fact that Belichick's coming to town and there'll be a lot of attention on UCF, whether it's on Fox or not, big noon kickoff. But I don't know. I feel like it's not really fair to critique vibe or atmosphere, because it was a weird feeling last day. Everything from the pregame to the weather delay to the quarterback situation to the lack of execution, the penalty. It was a weird game. It was a weird game. It's probably not the return or the comeback that Frost would have liked to have, but I imagine that a lot of the complaints we have will be rectified.
Trey, what was the vibe that you were getting on the sideline, especially when we were down in the third quarter, because you were there at that time? Were they frustrated? Were they expressing themselves? Were they supporting each other? Were they still up? What was that vibe?
Yeah, I think it was still good. I don't think they were either super high or super low, which, I think when you have such a long, it was what, a 2.5 hour delay. Yeah. I think you naturally, you just kind of lose energy, just because you hit that high when you start and then you wait 2 hours and it's hard to come back out and the fans aren't really out there. I think it was packed at the beginning and then maybe a third to maybe a half where it came back. And that's huge,
third.
In our stadium.
Yeah, third or less, probably.
Maybe a fourth, maybe a fifth came back.
Yeah.
Late.
I think they didn't. What I'm glad I didn't see was they kind of didn't tuck their tail like they did in the past. They weren't like, oh, here we go again. I think there was a, let's do it. Let's finish the game. We're not playing well, but we got to find a way to win. And I think that's what they did. So, and I kind of agree with Brandon. It's early. It's hard to gauge it game one. But yeah, I think it wasn't bad, but it wasn't what we used to do in the past, where no matter what, the clocks had to hit 00 before we really were like, all right, we can't come back,
Trey, the one thing I'm kind of curious to see how this works out, because obviously everyone knows Frost did such a great job at UCF the first time, but everyone always says, well, wait a minute, I know you guys went winless in 2015, but there was talent there. George O'Leary instilled a toughness in the guys. There was something there to work with. And then maybe when he got to Nebraska, and Trey, you're going to know better than anyone else, there were guys who, they were fine with the previous coach. It wasn't like it was just a different atmosphere he was walking into. So you kind of wonder, and now it doesn't matter because there's not the continuity year to year because of transfer portal. It's not like he's taken over a team that has, 2/3 or 3/4 of the guys were here last year, because that's not the case. But I'll be kind of curious to see how Frost can kind of maintain that culture, when the rosters change year to year, and as if it's going to be the right kind of culture that breeds success like it did it in 2017. That's what every coach is trying to figure out. How do you do that with today's transfer portal?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I tell everybody. I'm like, Coach Frost fostered our our culture, because the hard part was already done. We were already tough football players. We were already physical guys who we would strain until the end, and even though we lost every game, we just didn't play well. It wasn't like we were at a talent deficit, and I think you saw it game 1 from that year. You saw that first year with Frost. You saw the talent. We just could never really put it together a lot. And in those clutch time moments, we kind of reverted back. I don't know if that's this team. I know a lot of times last year, and then just with Gus in general, we've questioned, how mentally tough are they? That's one thing I can tell you about Coach O'Leary, and you guys know it. We had to be mentally tough or you couldn't see the field. We were mentally tough just because of the way we practiced, the way we trained. And that's why he had so much success just throughout his years there. And so I am interested to see, how that does manufacture, because Coach Frost got the best of us because he gave us just the environment to just let us play and not feel like, we have to look over our shoulder at every time we made a mistake. I know he's doing that with these guys, because I saw plenty of mistakes and he never was looking over the shoulder. It's just a matter of, are they mentally tough for the grind? Are they mentally tough? Are they physically tough? Do they want to play a physical brand of football, and do they want to win games? And I think, for week 1, I always come up here and say, I'll never complain about a win. I don't care how it looks. Will I critique it? Absolutely. That's what we do. We're going to critique it. We're going to say what we thought we did well and what we didn't do well.
You have a whole segment. Trey yells at Cloud about it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some stuff I'll talk about when we get to there, but I think it's going to be different because of the transfer portal. When Coach Frost came, we were all like, let's just buy in. We never even in our back of our head were like, we're going to transfer somewhere, because most of us would have had to sit out a year. That's such the difference from now to then, is you don't have to sit. I think if there was a rule on if you had to sit a year, the transfer portal would be completely different, because kids don't waste a year.
Trey, to your point, right? It went from a penalty basically for doing it to an incentive, right? Because you not only can you transfer anytime you want, but you also get incentive because you can shop yourself, if you perform well. So it's a complete flip when it comes to that.
If you don't perform well, like when you entered, we call it the portal now, but when you transferred back then, it was rare that you would transfer up. A lot of kids try to transfer up or even transfer lateral. Most of the time you take a step down because you don't have the tape to transfer up or really to transfer lateral, unless you know a coach or a coach leaves, something like that. Now these kids cannot play and they'll go somewhere else just off. I don't even know how they do it. It's crazy to me. But you had to have tape or practice, or your coach leaves and goes here and he's seen you in practice, so you kind of can sneak over there. It's so different now, and so you wouldn't transfer. You're like, I can't transfer because what am I going to do? I'm going to lose the opportunity I have here to maybe find somewhere else that I might not even like. So,
Trey, there's one thing I want to ask you as a guy who played not that long ago. We're talking about portal, but now everyone gets paid too. It's not just easy, transfer for. Now, how do you think that affects the team dynamic? Because we've all heard the stories where, guys get paid a lot. Maybe there was a quarterback that played for UCF last year. He knows he's not going to the NFL. He's got 1 year left. He got some big high six figure payday to come to UCF. And his motivation is really not there. Okay. And you get that probably with a lot of teams where, some guys, it doesn't matter. They get paid $1 million or nothing, that they're going to give it their all no matter what. But
Yeah.
I kind of think there's guys who they know they've been paid. Like, where's the motivation in the offseason? Where is the grind to, if they're trying to work their asses off to get to the NFL or something, if they're already getting paid like $1 million, where's the motivation coming from sometimes? And how do you keep a locker room together when, let's say, you got an offensive line, or, you got some position room where everyone knows, well, this guy's getting paid a ton and maybe he's not putting in the work, maybe he's not performing, and this guy that's barely getting paid anything is the star, is the guy who's performing the best. I mean, wouldn't that lead to bad blood, you think?
Yeah, and I think I think it's going to more so because of college. I think once you get into like true NFL pros, guys don't really like pocket watch in a sense, because it's a little bit more cutthroat. And that's one of my biggest complaints with it, is just like, if guys aren't performing, like you talk about, we might have a guy that's not practicing hard, not even going to practice. In the NFL, you get fined for things like that. You don't show up to practice, fine. You show up late to practice, fine. You show up overweight, that's $8,000 every 5 pounds you're overweight. It's things like that. They force you to be in shape. They force you to perform. In the NFL, they cut you, and yeah, you might have guaranteed money, but say you're making $800,000, supposed to make it. If they cut you at game 2, you're not making all that extra money. It's gone. So I'm not saying that it should get to that extent, but I think there needs to be some kind of middle ground of, when guys check out, it should be almost a game. I shouldn't say game to game, but like when KJ, for example, when KJ got benched at the end of the year, we knew there was no way they were going back. It was, we're going, or not end of the year, like middle of the year. It's going to be, we're going to see what these young guys have. He's essentially collecting a check to hold a clipboard and just stand on the sidelines.
Yeah.
There, in my opinion, should be some kind of way to reallocate that money to a starter. Like, I don't know how they do it. I know
they're talking about, they want to do it in a way where the money is tied to participation. I know that gets tough if someone gets hurt, but there should be like a pool, and the guys get paid, the guys that actually play.
Yeah.
No one should get paid huge money to opt out, or to say, oh, I sprained my whatever, so I'm not going to play the next 4 games, because they don't want, they're looking for their next school.
I agree. And I think that's one of the main issues with how fast this all transpired. I think there was a lot of details that weren't ironed out that have led us down this hole. And I think it's going to be hard to get out, because we've already set the kind of the precedent, and guys are signing deals, they're signing contracts, and this is the expectation that's set. But yeah, I think there has to be some kind of way to negate it, because like you just said, when a guy is, and this, I don't blame KJ. He's not playing. It's not like,
listen, I blame Waffle House. It's too much. There's too much access at Waffle House. He showed up at Waffle House after every game. Josh saw him there. We went to the same Waffle House after this game. There's just too much Waffle House going on. So I blame Waffle House, and I do blame KJ. Like, he knew what was going on. Like, realistically speaking, real talk, right? He knew what was going on. We were expecting a lot out of him. I was expecting a lot out of him because I'd seen him play at Arkansas, and I knew what he was capable of. But once he got his third charger, he checked out, and it is what it is. He got his gas station picks in, and at the end of the day, that was it. That was all she wrote. So it's interesting to me. I think we've had, just because you guys brought up KJ and the quarterback situation, we've had a quarterback situation basically every year, right? You had the Mikey Keene thing. You had Castellanos, who tore it up at FSU this past weekend. I guess his questionable social media videos now are somewhat validated. And so again this year, now we
Wimbush.
Wimbush, yeah, Wimbush. We had Wimbush as well. But at the end of the day, this right now, let me ask you this, Brandon, from your perspective. Scott Frost came out in his Monday presser, and he talked about Cam a little bit. We talked about Taven Jackson a little bit, right? So in the spring, what you heard Scott Frost talk a little bit about Taven Jackson and his ability, but wanting to see more basically fire or whatever. He seems like he's almost too laid back, right?
Yeah.
Like almost.
It's great that Frost actually gives us that material, because I feel like if this were Gus, he wouldn't say
would never get that.
anything. You never get that. He would not know, even if you kind of heard the buzz through the grapevine, he would never come out and acknowledge that. And Frost today validated just little bits and pieces that I had heard the whole time. Just stuff like, Buzz, like, Cam Fancher and Ja'Cory Brown, they're more in tune with the rest of the team. They're motivated. They want to earn the job, and Taven's just more laid back. And I don't really know what that means. But just stuff like Taven's more laid back. He's kind of more disconnected than the other two, and like they know his ceiling is way higher than the other two, but he's inconsistent. He doesn't seem as engaged. I don't know. Just little tidbits you hear from various people.
He said he needed to make him mad, and that he would do whatever it took to make him mad from now on, I guess. And he was like, what did he say? Like, to give him an Indian burn on his arm or something?
Yeah, we learned that Brandon did not know what an Indian burn was.
I never heard that phrase.
Really? Oh, okay.
I don't know. I knew. Whatever. I'm naive.
Funny.
No, it's us old guys. We heard that back in the day,
Are you allowed to say that anymore? What?
I don't know. That's
I know. That's what I thought. I was like, oh god, he's gonna.
But Trey, I'm curious.
Say he's abusing players. I've been through this before with another team.
Trey, I'm curious about this because I kind of remember hearing this, and other fans remember this as well. But we weren't part of the team. Like, we don't know. I know when Mackenzie Milton first got to UCF, I remember Wyatt Miller, like in a preseason interview, was calling him, he's our little Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
But I also remember hearing other stuff that he sometimes wasn't the greatest practice quarterback. Obviously, he produced in games, but he sometimes didn't do very well in practice. Was that a correct take? It seems like that's something I thought I had remembered, and fans thought that too.
Yep, and it's that's what, like, I used to always say about McKenzie. I mean, when he first practiced that first camp, like the first camp, we were like, he did something that was just like Johnny Football, like, and we're like, one day he's gonna sell this entire stadium out. Like, he showed and flashed that much because we knew was exciting. That's what people would come to see. But one of the reasons he didn't start was, I always say that first camp is hard, man, especially if you've never done it. It's easier for me because I'm from Georgia. I'm right down the street, not literally, but I know it was significantly harder coming from Hawaii, being gone that's probably the longest he's ever been gone from home, let alone, just to do this. And he would not practice hard. And it wasn't like he wasn't practicing hard. It's just kind of like what you're saying. It just wasn't engaged all the time. Like, there's a level of engagement you have to have as a collegiate athlete. And on that, you won't make it if you can't literally take every rep serious. Every single rep counts, whether you're practicing or you're not. So, yeah, I think there's a little bit of truth in that, that he wasn't engaged. And it's not like – and that's most freshmen. I mean, I know you can ask – when I was a freshman, I wasn't engaged. I was sitting there. I was second string, third string. I'm like, am I really going to play on Saturday? Like, I don't care. Oh, Trey, make sure you're paying attention. All right, coach, I'll pay. Yeah, I got it. Like that.
You were the kid out in the baseball field chasing ladybugs. Like, we know, we got it.
Well, Trey, this actually kind of parallels to when you first got to UCF, and I don't even know if you remember any of this because you didn't play on offense. But do you remember the whole like Justin Holman, Pete DeNovo thing in 2014?
Yeah,
like
I remember that. I remember.
And everyone knew that Holman was the guy. Like, he has the talent. He has the. He might throw, I think Charlie Tapp said he might throw Nolan Ryan fastballs for screen passes that are unnecessary, but everyone knew that's when practice was actually open. So I could actually see practice. But then Pete DeNovo, like, people knew he wasn't it, but just he was a better practice QB than Justin Holman.
And that's what Coach O'Leary was like at the end. And I just saw you talking about the UNC game. Like, Bill Belichick is like, practice habits is what you do in the game. Like, that is for his entire career. And I believe it. Like, most of the time, you're going to perform how you perform in practice. That's just what it is. And there are gamers, I'm not going to take that away. I think McKenzie was a gamer, but I think he even honed in as a better gamer once he practiced as hard. Once he started, practice is serious. And I think there was a little bit of that. Holman was night and day more talented than Pete, though. And Pete would tell you that, and that was just the reality of it. But Pete every day came in, worked hard, first guy in, and it wasn't like Holman was the last guy in. It's just he didn't take it that extra step that you need to be the quarterback of a team. And I that's just my assumption of what Coach Frost meant by, Ja'Curry once. And I even saw Ja'Curry on the sidelines. Like, I thought just from all the camp talk, he was the second guy up. Just from how Frost was like, if I had more time with him, he could be great. So I'm like, okay, if something happens, he's going to be second guy. When I'm like, he was just as excited. He was just like, let's go off and like doing that. And that's what guys gravitate towards at the end of the day. That's just, I don't know if it's just how football guys are wired. I don't know, but they gravitate towards those kind of guys that want the best for people, even when they might not be getting the best for them.
Well, I mean, what you want, right? When you talk about this, right? You want your QB to be the leader in the huddle and the leader of the team, right? And so Mackenzie Milton, everybody trusted that Mackenzie would go out there and get it done, right? And Taven, he even mentioned himself, he was second string quarterback in his previous 2 stops. He got his chances in Indiana, but he never took control of the team. And I think with someone like Scott Frost, and with Mackenzie Milton and other people, I think that he was wanting to see that out of Taven, and not just like, hey, I'm going through the motions and the reps and whatever. Take control of the team. And I think that's the challenge he's getting. But the fact that so Cam, during the game, when you watched him during the game, he had a few good throws, right? Like, he's got an arm on him. He's got the ability to throw distance. What we were hearing was that he had the ability. He knew the offense better. He could connect to the players, or connect with the players as far as passing the ball. But we didn't see that. He used his wheels and his legs. He had some good runs that were out there where he made it happen. He seemed cool, calm, and collected. Then he was knocked out. And then you had Taven Jackson. When I look at Taven Jackson, he's given us what we haven't had the past several seasons, which is someone who can pass at a pretty decent level. I think he was 70% passing in this game, 280 yards or something. So we haven't had that in several years. So the ability, you heard Scott Frost talk about how we needed to be able to pop the big play to offset some of those long drives that we had where you have to consistently be good, 11 play or 13 play drives, and then they didn't end up in points. You need to be able to break it up and pop off a big play. I think what I saw with Taven Jackson, he squared his shoulders well, his feet positioning was well. He released the ball well. He was on target for the most part. That's from a quarterback mechanic standpoint, his ability to put the ball where it needed to be. Once he got comfortable, Taven Jackson looked like the guy, and he did have some wheels. He did step up into the pocket, whereas Cam Fancher didn't. Like, when I was looking at Cam Fancher, I was expecting him to be a more polished quarterback, which is why he, was chosen to lead the team. And I actually saw more polish out of Taven Jackson once he got warmed up, and he got, I think more than anything else, a little confidence going. So I have a lot more confidence in Taven Jackson's ability, if he can do that consistently, to lead the team. I think Taven's thing is he's just too laid back. And I think Scott Frost likes someone who, knows the offense well. I don't think Taven has had the opportunity, and I don't think he knows the offense as well as probably Cam does. And someone who's out there who can leverage his mechanics and be the guy to step up with the team. Now, he didn't look like he flinched when there was problems out there, right? When he didn't make the play happen. He seemed cool, calm, and collected. Taven did. But you could definitely tell it took him a minute to kind of speed up the game. To me, like in our text thread, I said, hey, we found our QB1. And then Scott made those comments. I don't know if that's Scott trying to challenge Taven Jackson to kind of step up, or, that's how he really feels. Because it kind of threw me for a loop that he said some of the things that he did about Taven Jackson after that performance. Brandon, what was your take on that?
Yeah, I think coaches in general kind of have a tough time with a starter losing their job due to injury, because it kind of invalidates the decision that he already made, which Cam Fancher is the starting quarterback. And yeah, he was not overwhelmingly impressive in his limited time out there, but he didn't really have a full opportunity to show what he can do. But I think he set the stage for Taven to start. Just they hadn't actually practiced yet. I think they were practicing Monday night tonight, so they hadn't been on the field yet. He just kind of, punted on the question about how's Cam doing. Oh, he hurt his back. He had shooting pain going up and down his leg, and if he's going to be limited early in the week, that's what they always say. Like if someone doesn't practice early in the week, the most important work days, then they're probably not going to start. I think he did set the stage that Taven will end up starting. Now, if Cam is 100%, maybe that's different. But I don't see how you go back to Cam Fancher. Give him an opportunity. I mean, hopefully, if Cam is well enough to play on Saturday, maybe there's a time he can come in. Hopefully, this is a game that's unlike Jacksonville State where you're losing, 10-3 in the fourth quarter. Hopefully that's not the case. I
don't think you're even going to see Fancher this game.
Yeah, but it seemed
especially with Frost admitting that he had a concussion. There's no way
actually,
that he plays.
He said some of us misheard that. I know after the game he said no concussion.
No, he said it. He said that he did have a concussion.
No, he said didn't. He said I was there and the rain was hitting the roof. I thought he said he did. But then I went back and
listened. Neck injury, and he was shooting pain down his leg.
I think he has a concussion, and then the other thing that he mentioned, he was having he had a back issue, but it was having shooting pain down his leg. That's not a time to play a quarterback. I mean, just especially with a concussion. I don't know what the rules are in college football, but that's crazy. So I don't think you're going to see him, and I think it's clear. Looking at the stats, who number one is.
And Taven, and let's not make. I know we talk about Cam, and he's been a starter for 26 games, multiple starts. But it's not like Taven Jackson hasn't played in big games. I mean, he's played in much bigger venues, much better atmospheres than anything Cam Fancher played at Marshall and FAU. I mean, he's playing, games at Washington. He started last year. Then the year before last, he played a bunch of games in Indiana, playing at Ohio State and some of these places. So it's not like he hasn't been in pressure situations.
I'm hoping that what this all did, including this press conference, was continue to light that fire under someone who might not have that same day-to-day drive like Coach Frost was talking about. I think it's pretty clear if he plays in practice the way that Frost wants him to play, he's the starter. I think this is very, very clear. And whether it was taking benching him for Cam or whatever happened, if there is some type of change, I think that change is permanent. But if he comes back down to what he was doing, even though I know, Brandon, you said the McKenzie note about him and his sometimes how he was in practice, I think it's clear. I really do. And whether he does or does not have Cam does or does not have a concussion, we're all in our 40s, I think. Some people in the chat maybe a little bit beyond there.
Trey's not that old. How old are you, Trey? You're like
young.
Are you 30?
Trey and Alan are young, man.
He's okay,
trying to project us old
I'm the oldest one here.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, so Trey and Alan, in like 10 years, if you have anything, a shooting pain down your leg and back issue, I don't want you moving for the next week. So that's the reality. I think that we know what's going to happen. If he takes care of business in practice, I think it's what's going to happen.
Well, I think, when you're talking about a quarterback specifically, you've got to have your plant foot. You've got to be able to push through your hips to be able to get velocity on the ball.
Well, if you're a running quarterback as well, you get one tinge going down your leg. That's like a nerve thing, man. Who knows if you trip or over your own foot or whatever. But yeah, sorry to interrupt.
That's all good. I mean, you had the medical.
You're good. You're not.
You
wrong.
have the medical background, AP. Like for me, it's just look. At the end of the day, I said it when we posted our video from Waffle House. Josh and I recorded a video from Waffle House immediately after the game. We posted that. Taven Jackson to me is the guy. You look at that. You watch what he was capable of doing. He hit. The interesting thing we've been screaming with Gus Malzahn over the past few years is hit the middle of the field. We used the tight end. We weren't just using the tight end, though. We dumped off to the running back, got the running back some space. I can't remember the kid's name, the 5'8" guy. They called him Flash as the nickname, number 7. But we were getting him the ball, trying to get him in space, and we were using the middle of the field. I think what we have, if we end up leveraging TJ, I think at the end of the day, what we have is someone who can throw the ball and who can do it consistently. And if he can throw the ball consistently, that opens up our running game. Because you saw we were trying to run it down their throats. The offensive line, at times was offensive. They were discombobulated at times. They were not getting the push. One thing I do want to mention is Jack State had a lot of 4-star transfers that were on their team. People don't realize how many players were on that.
That team won the Conference USA last year.
Well, and
that's gone. It's just like us.
I mean, that's something that I mentioned on the text talk, like after or a couple days after the game. I was just saying how I think us as fans, or certainly casual fans, like they didn't realize how good that Jack State team was, or at least could be. I mean, they had a ton of transfers as well, as you just mentioned, Roger. I mean, I think it was basically like almost 120 transfers between the two teams on that field that day, and they certainly had high quality transfers as well. But it wasn't just their transfers. I mean, they, as AP just mentioned, I mean, they had a good season last year. They had some pride going on in their certainly in their building. I mean, they wanted to come out here and put on a good show, and they definitely showed that. I mean, I think that they, kind of took offense that they were going to be written off in this game, that it was just going to be a walkthrough for UCF. And they certainly brought as much of that athleticism and fire as they could. I mean, I don't think necessarily they could beat us through the air, and that was probably frustrating for them. I thought our defense, for the most part, played pretty well. And so they, we definitely did some good things on defense, especially, and special teams that I think ultimately wound up being the difference in the game, but they definitely brought it. And I'll just say one of that, since we're talking about, QBs, and Mike in the comments mentioned it earlier, and we had it highlighted up on the screen for a while. But, this probably one of the more explosive plays of the night was the 64-yard catch by Miles Montgomery on the opposite sideline, and he runs up the sideline, jumps over an opponent, but the
fireworks.
But the throw, I mean, the throw that
hold on, Brandon's right. Fireworks. I want to point this out because you're saying this, right?
Yeah.
It was so bad during the game. They had so many fireworks left over that they shot fireworks over before we scored. Like, it was
wow. I didn't realize that. Was it on that play?
Yeah, that was on joking
play.
Because what happens is that I think there's a guy sitting on the practice field that has the trigger that sets him off, and someone in the press box, one of the game operations people, has to message him, hey, we scored a touchdown, set him off. So whoever it was, they thought he was scoring, or maybe they didn't. They were like, whatever happened, there was a miscommunication, and they put off the fireworks show. But he didn't score, and they're trying to get back and run a play and run a series, and the fireworks continue to go off. The same thing happened last year in that Utah game. I forgot what the snafu was then, but this is back-to-back games where they've had fireworks mishaps.
Oh, my goodness, that's crazy. But all I was saying is that, the replay of that really showed that that Taven Jackson really just kind of stood tall in the pocket and happened to see Miles Montgomery the corner of his eye, and he just kind of turns and like flicks it. And that's you get those of you on the pod who have played football before, know better than me, but that throw to the opposite sideline, people don't understand how far that is, and he kind of dropped it on a dime, and that was a big play beyond just the catch and run by Miles Montgomery. That throw was impressive as well, probably one of the more impressive ones of the game by either QB.
I don't know. I like that last one to Black at the end.
Oh yeah, the one
that was he leaked out. We were talking about the wide receivers. I think. To your point, Ben, like the wide receivers did get separation, which is something we didn't see before because
creativity, it just like it seemed like they were just getting in different spaces than what we have been used to over the last few years. I mean, it's just kind of frustrating to watch the FSU game on Saturday night and or Saturday afternoon and see a little more creativity than what we have seen over the last few years.
Well, that's partly, I guarantee you, that's partly Mike stepping in there and putting some of that in there because he was always known for that. He was great at game planning. And Trace talked about this before. Anytime we played Mike Norvell, the thing about Mike Norvell is he always had a really, really good game plan. And at least for the first half. So it was all about adjustments with Mike Norvell. He's a good offensive guy. And I can guarantee you with how last season went, Mike Norvell did not let Gus just run roughshod off of that offense.
Yeah. But regardless, it was good to see some of the routes that we were running, even for a game one with Scott Frost, and just some of the ways that our wide receivers and really all skill position players. You mentioned over the middle of the field a lot. I mean, that was exciting to see some open things across the middle of the field. Just a little bit of creativity, and then you're not going to show much game one, but seeing some of those things that we haven't seen in the last few years. If I'm not able to necessarily call the next play, then that's probably a good thing. Or my 11-year-old son is not able to call the next play. I think that's a good thing as well.
Yeah, I think, we kind of went down the defensive track here. We talk a little bit about the defensive track. Like Horace Lockett looked like a beast. And I thought it was interesting what Scott Frost said today about him being able to be in the game like more consistently, meaning like he's going to be winded really quick. So we got to be able to rotate him, which is why I think you saw more of RJ Jackson at the beginning, but he was really, really disruptive. The other thing that caught my eye, and I'm going to defer to Trey on the defensive backs, but on the linebacker play, and just the team as a whole, we're back to seeing multiple hats on a ball carrier, right? They have the speed to go sideline to sideline. Again, even the quarterback, this guy was a P4 quarterback at two different programs. The speed that was on display and the ability to tackle by the linebackers gave me a lot more confidence than what I've had in the past. It was one of the open questions we've talked about for the past 7 or 8 years, since Bethune and Tatum Bethune left and all those guys. It was like, who's at the linebacker position? But I loved seeing every single play. You had 2 or 3 guys, whoever got the ball, you had 2 or 3 guys there. They were fast and laterally. They were stopping folks. Now, the biggest concern, again, is edge contain. And I feel like we say that year in and year out. But edge containment is the biggest issue there. Brandon, what do you having looked at several of these teams, what did you think of this year's defense? Like, what was I know it's the first game. I know this is a Jacksonville State, but again, the vast majority of the people that were out there were 3- and 4-star guys. These are not.
I like the fact that defensive backs were actually looking back for the ball.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. There was only one play where they didn't, and that should have been an interference, but they didn't throw the flag. But I agree 100% on that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the linebacker play, linebacker in general, I think has been a weakness the entire Gus era. Honestly, I thought the linebacker play was a lot better. It's interesting. You got Kelly Lawson being as big as he is, being the linebacker. He doesn't look like a linebacker. Looks more like maybe a big defensive end. Lewis Carter was all over the field making plays. He's the one who got the targeting in the second half. So, I mean, unless they appeal it, I know they are appealing it, unless it's overturned. Yeah, he's out for the first half of NCAA, but it looks like they're going to rotate a little bit more. I know Cole Kozlowski and Jaden McDonald, the backup, saw a little bit of action, but I think they'll be fine there if he can't play. But yeah, it's early, but I mean, I think the vibe that we kind of gathered from Frost throughout the preseason, that he liked the makeup of this defense, and I think he thought the defense was going to be better than the offense. I mean, I think that was what Frost thought going into it, and early on, I mean, that looks like it's the case, but we'll see how and this game is this game's tough. I hope this is a game where everyone feels good. We see some explosive plays. Fans get into it. Everything goes because we're not going to know much, and then there's a bye week, and then it's North Carolina. Like I'm watching that over here on my other screen, and I don't know about I don't know now about
making the Big 12 look good against
thank goodness. I mean, the Big 12 did not have a great weekend. They beat the teams they should have beat.
P4.
Yeah, but the P4 games are the only ones that matter, and you want to make your case that your league is going to be deserving of multiple playoff spots. Like you're Baylor, you got to beat Auburn. I mean, I don't think anyone expected anything. No one expected Cincinnati to be, a one-score game with Nebraska, but that was close. That was an opportunity that was missed, and you got to win these games. You got Colorado playing Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech's sneaky good. Brant Key, former UCF head coach in waiting, Brant Key, but you had an opportunity. You had him at home. Georgia Tech made some mistakes early. You got to make them pay more than they did, and. So yeah, we'll see what happens. North Carolina. I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I think things I heard is that if they beat TCU, it's pretty much a lock. UCF's going to be big noon kickoff for that game, and the game would probably be at noon.
That's not going to happen.
Now North Carolina is not going to win. I mean, unless they have a Gus Malzahn
41-7.
41-7. I think that's done.
As I'm talking, they scored again. So they're not coming back. So I don't know. Now, Fox, I think this is the only opportunity they'll have to get a Bill Belichick. It's just kind of like Dion when he first got to Colorado. Yeah. Like everyone wants to showcase him. Like Colorado was actually good last year, but the first year, not so much. So I don't think Fox is going to bypass the opportunity to showcase Bill Belichick. It just may not be at noon. It may not be a big noon kickoff. It may be another time of the day, which I'm actually fine with. I don't like noon games. I mean, I like the exposure, I guess, for UCF, but I hate noon games. So I don't mind it if it's not noon, but we'll see. I mean, it still could be noon, but I think that throws it.
Sucks for tailgating.
Oh, yeah.
Sucks for everybody.
Sucks for everything.
It's hot. No one likes noon games. Not in Florida. I don't like noon games ever.
Right. I'm with you on that, Brandon. Yeah, I think defensively, and I'll bring Trey up here. I'm going to bring these comments down real quick so I can bring Trey up here. Trey, what did you see defensively out there that you liked, especially with the DBs, what you didn't like? Obviously, we weren't showing everything, but we did bring some blitzes. There weren't a whole lot of exotic blitzes, but I like the fact that we were bringing guys down from different places, and then they'd blitz and then peel back off, or you'd blitz and come up to the line, and then they seem to put pressure. It's not always about tackling. Sometimes it's about funneling or taking away, whether you're going to the boundary or not, taking away options, especially for a running team when you're bringing defensive backs, nickels, safeties down, whoever you're bringing down. But what did you see from the defensive backs? I like that, we weren't playing. I mean, we were playing a lot of times 10 yards off to start, but they kept in stride. So what did you see? What did you like? What did the safety position look like? And defensively as a whole, what did you like from a scheme perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the DBs played pretty well. I forgot 23, his name. He made the play of the game. I mean, that fourth down, if we don't get that stop, they probably run the clock out, or Frost is going to end up using his timeout, and they're going to kick a field goal. And whether he makes it or not, that's one thing. But I think that was the pivotal changing play, that fourth down, because they went tempo. Like, I don't think everybody on our defense was ready for that play. And
no, they weren't. They were standing around looking to the sideline. They weren't paying.
Yeah, which is fair. I didn't think they'd go tempo late in the game like that either. But I mean, he shot out of a cannon and made a great tackle on the 1 yard line. Like I said, that saved the game.
Jaden Williams.
Yep. Yeah, he's a really good player. But personally, I was kind of disappointed in the defensive line. I think guys flashed. I think, like you said, 13. I forget the guy's name. I remember numbers.
Forrest Lockett from Georgia Tech.
I think he played really well. And like you said, I think you could see also he would get tired, which, just for those big guys, the moment they get tired, it's like get them out because their technique drops significantly. And that's just what ends up happening. But I didn't. They shouldn't. They didn't dominate like I thought they would. They were. I mean, I think we came up here that week before. They were hands down the best unit on the team. Like hands down, it should have been the defensive line. And I didn't see to be going against the Jacksonville State, and like I didn't see that dominance. Like their starting tackle was a freshman, and then a kid who hadn't played any college snaps yet, and then a transferred from Howard, which no disrespect to him, but like these are guys that I mean Malachi Lawrence and Nigel Kelly are they're most likely professionals. Like Nigel definitely is going to get a shot in the NFL. I think Malachi is going to get a really good shot as well. I didn't see them dominate. Like I talked about it up here. That was the one group I was like, it should be night and day. Like we should win the game single-handedly because they just take over and they overwhelm Jacksonville State. And that wasn't the case. Now, Jacksonville State had a good game plan in trying to neutralize them. They gave a lot of different read looks. They gave a lot of different kind of quarterback runs. But yeah, I mean, Mike, you're right. They did lose contain. And I just think it didn't look like there was a drastic difference. Like Horace Lockett played great. I think John Walker flashed and he had some good snaps as well. But it just didn't look dominant. Like I was expecting them to take over the football game. And I was waiting all game for it to happen. And I didn't see it like I don't know if you guys watched the Miami game last night.
I will say this, like I saw a difference after the rain delay. Like the guys came out, like especially the D line, they were getting a whole lot more penetration after that. I felt like we went into the rain delay and it was kind of, I don't know, obviously mediocre, right? Actually, it was worse than mediocre.
It was worse than mediocre.
Yeah. So they came out, and I saw the D-line and defense, like specifically, they came out with a lot more energy, in my opinion.
I think the defense did. I don't think the D-line did. Like, I think the D-line, for the expectations we have, like, we're talking they should be the best in the conference, if not up there as one of the best in the conferences.
Trey, and PFF, who we have access to, their grading, they back you up on that. It was not a banner day for defensive ends. I pulled it up right now. Yeah. The only defensive end that graded slightly above average was Nigel Kelly. Everyone else, Malachi Lawrence, Sincere Edwards, Jamal Johnson, Isaiah Nixon, they all scored under 60, which is below average.
I was surprised at Sincere.
70 is average, right, or something like that? 70s average?
60s considered average. 60s meaning you did basically what you should have done. You didn't do anything negative. You didn't do anything overwhelmingly positive. Yeah. If you're under 60 for an entire game, that's a pretty poor grade.
Yeah, and like I don't even have access to that, but again, like that's just what I saw.
You would if you were a member of the dungeon. I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm just like I'm not even good with how they grade and all that stuff. But just like that's just what I saw, and I mean, I don't know if you guys watched that Miami game last night. Like that defensive line took over the game, and they were supposed to. Like they have a lot of highly touted guys who arguably I think Nigel is just as good as some of them. Like I think Malachi Lawrence is just as good as some of those guys. And they just took over that game by themselves. And that's a Notre Dame offensive line that's really good. So that was what disappointed me. I think the DBs played great. I think the linebackers played really well. But again, I think this defense specifically this year is built through the defensive line. So when they don't hold up their end, you're going to put more stress as we get into the season on these defensive backs, on these linebackers to maybe play above their means. And maybe they don't have to. Maybe that was just a warm-up game. That's just a fluke game. I hope it is. But I think that was the most disappointing for me. And my yell at the clouds, I mean, it was really just both offensive lines. Offensive line.
We'll let you yell about that. So Horace Lockett, 4 tackles, 1 sack. Dunham, we haven't really called out at all. He had a good game. He had 8 tackles, 1 TFL. Carter was the leading tackler with 9 tackles. And just in general, you talk about Nigel Kelly. He had 3 tackles, 2 TFLs, 1 pass breakup, but he had some pressures as well. The thing that, in general, that I liked about what we saw from this game was I like that the fact that we were trying to jump routes, although that's going to burn us because we were bringing a lot of guys in the box or we were playing a lot of one-on-one coverage. I'm glad that we were, because that's what I was looking for. But I like from the defensive backs specifically that they were, to Brandon's point, playing the ball, not the hands, right? So I like that. I like that we were being more aggressive. If we were playing a better quarterback, though, it'll be interesting to see how they hold up against better quarterbacks, because that's really, for me, the crux of the conversation is like, how are they going to play when they're not playing against someone who's a 40% passer?
Oh yeah,
right?
For sure.
So
I mean, that's why you can't. Like I said, it's good that we take the win. I think that for me, I'm just glad we won. I'm glad we even pulled out the win, because it's hard to judge this game when this is probably the worst team, if not next. These two games are probably the worst teams we're going to play all year.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. Yeah, Mike, you said 3 for 15, but I think they were like 4 from 4 at some point on fourth downs, right? So I do want to ask you real quick, Trey, from a scheme perspective, what you saw, just specifically from scheme, not the players. What did you see? What did you like? What didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to run a lot of cover one, a lot of single high. He's going to make the safeties look like they have to be smart. They do a lot of movement pre-snap, a lot of rotating. Use the whole defense however you need to be able to do and know where you're doing whenever the offense motions. And I think he's going to lean into, Coach Grinch is going to lean into the talent. A lot of you guys are from Florida, have played in Florida. They're athletic. You talked about the speed. If you want to play on Sundays, which I know all those guys do, you got to be able to guard one-on-one your position. So let's do it and let's heat up the pressure. That's all we really did for those two Coach Frost years. We were a man-free team and dial up all kind of crazy blitzes to let Shaquem Griffin come free and let those guys, Titus Davis and Jemias Pittman and Tristan Hill. That's what you do. Let them get their one-on-ones to win, and we win our one-on-ones, and we'll have some success. So that's what I saw. I thought it was really good. I think they played sound. A couple of busts that I saw, but we weren't penalized on it. But like I said, that's going to happen. They played fast. That's all I asked last week was play fast. If you make a mistake, make it full speed. You might get away with it, and that's all I can ask for. So I was glad they did that.
All right, Brandon, we had more passing yards this game than we had all last season. I want to put that out there. If you want to talk about that, great. But I know we only have you for a short period of time. What things do you want to talk about with this team? What do you see as someone who has seen this team, has seen this coaching staff over the years? What do you like? What don't you like? What are the things are you worried about? Because to me, offensive line is the big worried about.
I asked Frost about that today because I just wanted to see how he would answer that question, whether he thought the blocking, just what he thought about it, because it seemed like there was a lack of push. He kind of deflected that. He didn't really, and I kind of did it. I kind of threw in on what do you think about running backs, pass protection, picking up blitzes, because we all saw when Cam Fancher got blown up, that was,
Miles Montgomery did not do well.
It was Jaden Nixon. That was
Jaden Nixon.
No, I know, but I'm saying even Miles Montgomery
didn't do
didn't.
well either. Yeah, but the Cam one was Jaden Nixon. So both those guys struggled in pass protection. So I kind of, you know how the press conference, you kind of pass the microphone around, so you don't know when you're getting it back. So I kind of made it a double question.
Well, you always get the first question for a reason.
Yeah, but he didn't really. He didn't really say much about the offensive line, but in camp, he's always praised. Obviously, everyone speaks very highly of the offensive line coach, Sean Clark, and he felt good about the offensive line. But honestly, when you kind of look at it, there's not a lot of proven experience there. You can look at the center, which I think he did pretty good. But he coming from James Madison, Louisiana Monroe, that's fine. But it's, is that going to translate to Big 12? You look at Paul Rubelt. I know he's been here, since before COVID, but he hasn't played all that much. He's been around, but he doesn't have that many starts under his belt. The other tackle, Preston Cushman's been a career backup. Maybe this, and the guards, I know guard Memilar has played some at Washington, but Keegan Smith was here last year, didn't really play, was a backup. Prior to that, played at Central Michigan. So, I mean, there's not a lot of like proven like multi-year starters that, so you don't really know what to expect. So I think that was a little disappointing, but again, it's just the first game. I mean,
how much of this is the first game and how much stock should we put into it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we should put some stock into it. But
I hope to God that it is first game jitters type thing.
I hope so. Like
2 hour range.
I agree because I predicted 6-6 during camp. Before all this, and I always tend more positive than maybe my head tells me. But after
you're no more positive than I am. I predicted a 56-10 win here because of the. I figured we'd get after it.
Well, the score wise, I actually predicted like 34-21 UCF. Like I thought it would be closer. I thought it would be closer than most people thought. I didn't think UCF would be losing 10-3 in the fourth quarter. But yeah. I'm kind of, if I had to vote again, I mean, I'm thinking 4 wins might. I don't know, unless we see
if we're lucky.
Yeah, if
we play like that.
I don't know about like, can you say maybe they can beat Cincinnati and West Virginia. Like other than that, I'm not
think
sure.
West Virginia is going to be better than people think.
And I think Cincinnati now that they're not great, but they hung with Nebraska. I don't know. I'm not sure where the wins are coming. I mean, like I think North Carolina, like, as I'm watching here on the other screen, they might be one of the worst teams UCF plays this year. Sure. Obviously, aside from NCAA, which really isn't that surprising. I think when you look at the Big 12 schedule, I mean, this UCF's 3 quote unquote easiest games of the season may be the first 3.
Well, the crazy thing about it, and we talked about this, and this is just the Big 12 in general, right? Last year, the bottom 8 teams finished the top 8 teams, right? And then this year, it's like, what do you even like? How do you even look at it? I predicted TCU would be really good this year. We did on the College Huddle, we did a preview for the season who we thought would win. I figured TCU would be really, really good this year. People are buying into Baylor. I don't buy into Baylor as much just yet, but I bought Kansas State a lot higher, and I actually predicted Iowa State would be in the championship game, and they look to be a good team. Kansas State doesn't look to be as good of a team.
No, they're not good.
Them to be.
So it's kind of frustrating. I was just thinking that tonight that like there's no continuity with schedules, and I know that happens when you have huge conferences. But like TCU, like we played them last year. Wouldn't it be kind of cool to play the teams you played last year? You just play them this year, just flip flop home and away. Like at least you kind of. Now like there were teams we haven't played before. Like, they got to go to Kansas State 2 times, or in Texas Tech, you go there 2 times before they even come here. It's kind of crazy how there's no continuity.
Yeah, it's super interesting for me, right? Like when we're talking about our foray into the Big 12, now that you have 16 teams, it's not like it used to be. I did like, even in Conference USA where we had divisions and you were basically playing at least 3 of the teams that you played every year, right? I kind of like that continuity, and being able to play against those teams over and over again, because you built some rivalries, number one, and number two, you kind of knew what you were getting. I mean, every single season, it seems like, what do we hear all the time? It's, well, we're not playing the same teams that we played last year, so we don't have any tape on them, and so. When you're talking about hard-fought games, then it goes back to scheme, right? And when you don't play against those teams year in and year out, it goes back to scheme, and then it's the head coaching. I mean, you look at us as far as a coaching carousel, so to speak, right? Scott Frost was here, then we got Josh Heupel, then Josh Heupel left. He was here 2 years, and then we got Gus Malzahn. He was here 4, I think, and now we're back to Scott Frost again. So it's hard to scheme against it. You heard Scott Frost talk about it, with the roster turnover, with the head coaching turnover. Bill Belichick, I expected us to win. I've been saying all preseason that I expected us to beat UNC. I don't have a whole lot of faith in their team. They've had a lot of transfers, and I think Bill Belichick's going to be a colossal failure in the college game. I think he's going to be the reverse Nick Saban. That's what I think, right? So. And I'm hoping for that, because I'd really like to I'd really like to see Bill Belichick and have UCF just,
I mean, Bill Belichick and Nick Saban, that's an insult to Nick Saban to put him in the same sentence. Nick Saban proved that he's a quality coach year after year, multiple guys in the NFL.
He didn't do well in the NFL.
I mean, I'm not taking
Yeah.
I am taking something away from Belichick, but what did he do without Tom Brady? Okay. It's hard for me to disconnect Belichick from Brady, and Saban did it with tons of teams, players cycle in and out. He proved that he is the all-time greatest coach ever in college football. I guess you can make the argument just because of Brady's greatness that Belichick is one of the greatest coaches. I don't know.
Well, it wasn't just
I don't give in to the Belichick hype because I still think it was so intertwined with Tom Brady.
Well, I think for Belichick, I think the big thing was he was known as a defensive mind, not an offensive mind, right? The other part about it is he did really good with drafting. That was his big thing because he had a system. It was a system he was running, and he was good at picking guys up that could plug in and plug out. I don't think he's going to have that opportunity at UNC, and I think he's also distracted. He's in the twilight of his career. He's got this young, in her word, gold digger, girlfriend. I think he's so all over the place and distracted. It's not going to happen. Interesting. What do you think about this comparison? Belichick is Jimbo Fisher.
I won't go that far, but
I think Jimbo's
the
actually
thing,
better in college ranks.
We're comparing it kind of apples and oranges, right?
Yeah.
Well, at least back then, who knows? The NFL and the college football might start merging a little bit with all this money, but not really, but kind of. It's just two separate things. I know it's two separate things, right? Being a NFL coach is a lot different than being a college football coach, duh. But now it definitely is because you at least have some type of continuity on an NFL team within reason. You don't even have that on a college football team at this point for the most part. So it's always been different. And now it's even more different. And a lot of people from the NFL don't do amazing back in college football and vice versa. There's very few that are really good, like maybe Barry Switzer. I don't know. But there's like a handful that are really good at both.
Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, come on. Tom Coughlin. I'm surprised you didn't get a Giants reference in there. All right. So I'm gonna go back. My point with all of this is this would actually, if he's a system guy, this would actually be college ranks. You would think would be a advantage for him. That being said, I'm going to go back to Brandon. Brandon's been very generous with his time, and I want to give him an opportunity to, again, anything that UCF fans need to be thinking about. Time to swivel. Thanks, Tim. Not yet. We're almost there. And it's swiv it. We don't swivel. We swiv it. Brandon, I want you to do that, and I'd love for you to share. Obviously, I've been singing your praises because I've been a member since, gosh, I think it was like 2012. I've known you. And I knew you before that, but give a quick plug for all the good work that you do. Again, Brandon earns, that this is all he does. The UCF football and UCF sports is his, not only his passion but his livelihood. And he does it better than anybody else. So please, share where people can find you, how they can sign up for you. And he's just genuinely a good dude. I've known Brandon for many years. So
I appreciate the kind words.
that
means a lot.
As I always tell you all the time, I'm always honest, right? You are an institution for UCF. And I think they recognize that as well, whether it's with the players that when they come back or whether it's with the fans. Honestly, I hope one day, and I'm going to echo this, Tim just put this comment in here, Brandon Helwig for the UCF Hall of Fame. I genuinely hope that UCF is smart enough to put you in the Hall of Fame.
I would vote for that if I had the chance.
I appreciate it, but you just kind of sold it for me.
I would be happy to go to bat with you with anyone.
I'm writing the email right now.
If anyone is, anyone listening is not a member of UCFsports.com, I'd ask you to just give us this shot. Come on by, and you won't be disappointed.
Not at all.
And just because I remember seeing it on a thread on the boards, if you want to join on 3, join UCSsports.com. Go to UCSsports.com and sign up there. If you just join on 3, I don't think Brandon gets the credit. So if you are doing that, make sure you're doing it through UCSsports.com. If you don't see the message boards, A, you're missing out. B, you didn't do it right.
Yeah, you messed up because. But no matter what, make sure that you're signing up. You'll find all of us crazies on there. But more importantly, Brandon has access to the program in ways that nobody else does, including us. So, you know, I want to put that out there. He's a good person. He's a UCF fan through and through. He's been doing this since he was, I think you were a teenager when you started on this, right?
Yeah.
And I won't say what your age is. But I will say it's the better part of 2 decades, and he knows and has contacts with more people in the program and the respect of the program more than anybody else that's out there. So thank you, Brandon, and you know, as always, as a person and as a professional, you know, I respect you in more ways than one, and I appreciate when you give us the time. And of course, anytime I get to talk to you, I always have a good time. So thank you, Brendan Helwig, for joining us and giving us the time. I know we took away from your UNC watch, but you are an institution for UCF, and I will make sure that you know, David Hansen and Eric DeSalvo, and I don't have to say anything, and Jimmy Skiles, they all know who you are, and they would all vote for you to go in the Hall of Fame. But when you decide to hang up your hat, which
keyboard.
No, his hat, because everybody knows Brandon from the sidelines from his hat.
It's fair.
That's, if you're looking for Brandon, he's going to be on the sidelines. He's going to have that hat on. But you are you're someone that has influenced UCF in a positive way and grown us more than anybody, and you deserve that Hall of Fame. So we will talk about the next game next, and we'll go over a few things, but I just wanted to make sure I put that out there. Make sure you're supporting Brandon, and make sure you're joining UCFsports.com, not through on 3, but UCFsports.com.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Good to see you, Brandon.
See you soon. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
All
Brandon.
right. Have a
Brandon.
good one, man. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
I think he removed himself from the stage. All right. So I was getting ready to do that. All right. A couple things I wanted to go over real quickly. Let's run through some things from UCF football. So Miles Montgomery, 79 yards, 3 catches, 72 yards. I was actually expecting a little bit more out of him. I did like the fact that we used him as a receiving running back as well. Black, who we've been talking about forever, 3 catches, 59 yards, 1 TD. Wade, which is interesting, 4 catches, 54 yards, 1 TD. He's a freshman, got a lot of praise from Scott Frost this week, so expect more from him. We put up 424 yards and 17 points. Obviously disappointing. The one concern I have from all of this is we were able to move the ball in between the 20s, but we stalled out again in the red zone, so we've got to figure that out. UCF had 314 passing yards. Rushing yards, we only had 110. Jacksonville State had 165. We had 9 penalties for 80 yards. We need to clean that up. You know, when you remember our keys to the game last week, that was one of the things we talked about. We did win time of possession, 31-28, although the first half we definitely had a much bigger advantage on time of possession. And then, you know, what our keys to the game was, let's talk about what we want to see for North Carolina A&T. Now, obviously, they lost by 1 touchdown last week. What do you guys want to see? What are the keys to the game as far as previewing North Carolina A&T? What do you want to see out of them?
Can I start really quick? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see anything of what we saw last week. I want to see something completely different. First of all, I haven't got to say this yet. What is this huddle thing? I don't like it. That threw me off in the beginning. The pass that wasn't caught, you know, that would have been a touchdown. The vibe was off from that point on. The whole thing was a fluke. to be honest with you. I don't think that that's what we are, and it can't be. It can't be.
Are you just talking about the huddle, or are you talking about the actual pass to start? Because I think it was brilliant to start with that pass. I think that was
but if that pass would have been caught, it would have been absolutely awesome. But since it wasn't caught, it was just like the air went out of my lungs at that point. To be honest, I was just like, oh man, because that would have been like the perfect thing. You know what I'm saying? That was. I just think, like everybody said earlier, I just want to say this. I want to agree with it that the vibe was just weird. I don't think the players were ready. I don't think it just doesn't seem like anything. And then the huge delay and the quarterback thing and all that. I just wish that wouldn't have happened, to be honest. The whole thing wouldn't have happened. It was not at all what I was expecting or wanting to see. Period.
Well,
I don't want to see any of that stuff. I don't want to see the penalties. I don't want to see the offsides. You know, that's penalty too, but the DB running in to you know, make a sack or whatever, blitzing the quarterback. Like, I love to see that stuff, but you have to time that right. Like, there's all these things that were completely just discombobulated in this game. And man, it's just, I don't want to see any of that. I want to see like what I remember Scott Frost's offense being. Not what we saw. I mean, there were some good things, obviously. I'm sorry, I went on a little rant here, but
you mean on on 2017, 2016, we had McKenzie with 6 turnovers against Maryland, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was right. Bad,
but that's the thing. I
almost won that game still.
I know.
Oh, dude, I was there. Don't get me started on that one.
But it just didn't seem like what I was expecting as far as the Scott Frost football team. I just thought that they would be way more together even in the first game than that. It just didn't seem like anybody vibed together. The timing was off. I don't know. It's just I was severely disappointed. I mean, you guys saw what I kept writing in the text thing with our little group. I'm surprised nobody called one of my crazy texts out earlier in the show, but
Brandon kind of jumped in and then kind of blew up text talk. But I like this point by Mark. You know, we talked about this earlier. I've never seen three targeting infractions in one game, but he's never in all of college football where both QBs on one team victims of targeting. I agree with that.
Yeah, Anyway, I want to see him come out and like take a deep breath. And you know, they need to just gain some confidence this week, and hopefully they gain some confidence, you know, because of getting the win or whatever. They just have to play a lot more like, you know, together to win more than 2 games probably this year, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
4 games if they play like that is not even going to happen.
Well, I started the season saying that I thought 4 games would be the low and the 6 games would be the high, right? Making it to a bowl game.
It could be way worse than that.
And Brandon went from 6 to 4. I think that if Scott Frost does not go with Taven Jackson for whatever reason, and I think it's a non-starter this week, no matter what, because of the concussion. I know Brandon said what he said, but I heard concussion. But either way, even the shooting pain down the back, I don't think Cam plays this week. That being said, if it's not Taven Jackson, I think we lose a lot more games than we would with Taven. So I hate this because it's, again, the quarterback controversy that we've had with Gus and everybody else.
Did you guys see the stat? I'm sorry, I couldn't send it in the StreamYard chat or whatever, but I sent it in our little WhatsApp group.
Uh-huh.
Look at that stat. Taven Jackson, it's passing pressure. He was better when he was being blitzed than when he wasn't being blitzed.
Yeah, the PFF, I think, was like something like
81.6.
Yeah, look
that's
at that
insane.
Yeah.
But that means the guy like is thinking, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do that.
Well, that goes back to what I was saying about the QBs, right? The difference between Cam Fancher and what I saw out of Taven Jackson. Taven Jackson was stepping up into a pocket. Cam never did. He was moving. He did take off and run. Both quarterbacks did, and Cam did as well. I think that was the difference between the two once Taven Jackson settled down. For this next game, I want to see Taven Jackson. I did like seeing our guys under center, right? Our QB was under center, which we only did on goal line with Gus, and then we screwed it up, to be honest with you. But I do think for NCA&T, what I want to see is we need to clean up the turnovers, right? Because I'm still worried about that. The offensive line needs to show me that they have the ability to dominate. I want to see more out of the defensive line, and I want to see I want to see the penalties reduced. Unless we start scoring, because then the penalties don't matter. If we start scoring more on those drives, then the penalties don't matter, quite frankly, and you get a pass, and we should get more. We should get more swings at the bat on offense, because quite frankly, if you score early and often, they are playing from behind, which means that they're going to get out of their scheme. And if they're getting out of their scheme, they're going to make mistakes, and our defense can feast. And if that's the case, then we're getting the ball more, and we should be able to score more. So again, the pressure swings to the other team. That's what I'm looking for out of. I just want to see them dominate, and I want them to reduce the number.
They got to get the fundamentals right before they can dominate, though. Like, if they don't clean up that stuff, man, it's not going to be good. But usually don't see Scott Frost teams like that. Maybe in Nebraska a couple of times.
Tim, I wouldn't say that he's a horrible hire. He was a questionable hire. If he would have lost, I think he would have been he was a questionable hire to begin with for everybody. For me, like I said this. Andrew, I don't know. I know, but you're biased. And Andrew, I don't know if you remember this, but when Gus Malzahn was named, right, and we found out that he was going to be the head coach, you and I were recording a podcast, and I said at that time I didn't want to retread, and I didn't think Gus Malzahn was a good hire. You were excited about it.
I was excited because I thought that, I thought what a lot of other people thought, that he would like bring that swagger here or whatever,
And he did bring elements of it.
He did, but it was obviously a disappointment. I mean, it makes me I remember saying that, like, I thought we got the better end of the deal between Heupel and Gus Malzahn. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever said in my life.
Wow. Okay.
I'll admit it 100%. That was one of the dumbest things that I've ever said.
So,
yeah. So at the end of the day, right, I think what is different about Scott Frost is he has the ability to build a culture. I just don't know how it's going to play in this new era. That's going to be the big question for me for this game. Go ahead.
I just think if Scott Frost can get the magic back in the bottle, got to get that magic back in the bottle. He could, it would just be such a show against a lot of these Big 12 teams, in my opinion. If that, it's Big 12 football. That's what Big 12 football is like the long passes, the fast stuff,
It hasn't been the last 2 or 3 years. It's been about the running
usually
game.
all about scoring and offense, to be honest with you. It has been. But
we don't have the pirate anymore. We don't have a lot of those people that made it that. So
there's a couple. There's one that I watch a lot of that goes deep a lot and can really move the ball. So I don't know. I just think that would be an exciting brand of football if he can, get it back in the bottle again. But I'm starting to doubt it, to be honest with you, just from that.
I think
his press conference even bothered me. You remember how I used to pull clips and all that all the time?
Yeah.
So I watch these press conferences like the second that they're on. I'm waiting for the press conference. Just because I want to see the reaction in the coach's face and just the way that he says things. And I didn't expect him to be in the mood that he was in after that game. I thought that he would come in there and almost I just didn't. I don't know. He
also wasn't throwing his like headset on the sideline or angry. Like you could see
he should have been
frustrated.
He should have been.
But he wasn't as animated as he was the first time around.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I just hope that this is an absolute, anomaly that we went through with the weather and the barometric pressure and
I hate to interrupt you guys, but I got to now. I've tried about
I think you
10
should,
minutes
man.
about 8 times. But I hate to kind of be the guy that's always trying to look at the optimistic side or whatever. But I mean, don't you guys think this is a little bit small of a sample size to say like, oh, we can't capture this? Like,
the sky's falling.
Ray, Andrew, and Roger, the three of you have played a lot of football in your life. Have you ever had to start a football game and go through a 2+ hour rain delay? A delay.
Actually, Ben, to be honest, the first
you probably have.
The first game at Nebraska, we did kickoff, and then we had a rain delay.
So that's
Trey,
one.
you guys
hold on. That's one. That
was it, though. I've never done it like that.
That's what I'm saying. That's one game out of the three of you that you can recall that you had a 2+ hour rain delay or a delay after the game had already started. I just think this is too weird of a situation for the first game of this season, this era with 60+ transfers. I just think it's too weird of a situation, like where they started the game at 7 p.m. and didn't restart the game until 9:55 at night.
I know. I was there.
I think that some of these things that we're worried about, and I understand why you're worried about some of the things that you saw. There were some strange things that we saw. There's something not so good things that we saw. Obviously, penalties. We don't want to have any of that. But at the end of the day, we pulled it together at the end, and we were able to get out of a weird situation with a win. And like I said in the text talk after the game, I think the team was a little bit better than we thought they were going into it. And lastly, I think that you'd rather have to figure out these things after a win than a horrible. I mean, a loss would have been devastating to all of us. Yes. I mean, it would have been devastating, but so we didn't have that. Luckily, we were able to make one more play than they did. And we were able to get out of that weird game with a win. And then we go into by all accounts, a team that is way, way less of an opponent than what we just faced. And so hopefully we can get back on track just because we are playing a lesser opponent this week than we did in week 1 with the craziest situation that we've had. Unfortunately, UCF fans have seen it, twice in the last 5 years. Yes, but
more than that,
this team hasn't.
Before the rain delay, it was pretty bad. After the rain delay, it was better.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said it's like it's like the Texas game, right? Like,
sure,
like what I look at it as is this. Hold
on, Roger. No. I mean, hold on 1 second. You said after Taven Jackson finally settled in. How do we know that after Cam Fancher wouldn't have settled into that game after the first 2 drives? How do we not know that?
Here's what I didn't see. Oh, Ben, let me answer. So what I didn't see out of Cam Fancher was I didn't see fundamentals. I didn't see him step up.
And I'm a fan of TJ as well. I mean,
no, let me. You asked a question. Let me answer. What I saw was his passes were not where they were supposed to be. Number 1. Number 2, I didn't see him step up in the pocket when he should have. He didn't feel the rush very well. He didn't do any of those kinds of things. With TJ, at least, he even the drives that stalled, they stalled for penalties. Like they weren't. It wasn't. When I look at those 2 quarterbacks,
I'm not advocating for Cam Fancher. I'm just saying that I'm just saying we don't know what would have happened if that 2-hour delay.
And we never will.
Yeah, we never will. I think that we'll see a lot better version of this team this week against a lesser opponent. That's just my opinion.
I think what I saw, and I would rather see what I saw against Jacksonville State than go into NCA&T and then see it in the second week, because What
my God.
what that tells me is that these guys are like, oh crap, we need to tighten up, right? Number one. And number two, what I saw was, I will tell you this: if we played NCA&T first, I don't think we see Taven Jackson. And
Fair.
it's pretty clear that Scott Frost, in my opinion, doesn't feel like Taven Jackson is ready to lead this team because of the fire in his belly. What I saw out of Taven Jackson was he was calm, cool, and collected. He has an arm on him. He was able to put the ball where it needed to be, and he ran the offense. And he did the things that what I saw him do. He wasn't throwing, like, even if he was throwing across the field, he was still squaring up before he did it. He got his feet set. Cam didn't do that. Cam was throwing off the run, like the same things that Cam did well, Taven Jackson did well, but I saw fundamentally as a quarterback, I saw more out of Taven Jackson. I had more confidence in Taven Jackson running the offense, especially after the
That's not what I'm not just.
No, I know what you're saying. But what I'm saying
I'm just saying the sky is not falling on this season.
And I actually said the opposite. I felt like, I think with the offense specifically, like defense aside, right? With the offense specifically, I think we could build off of what I saw late third quarter, early fourth quarter once he settled in. I feel like his ceiling is a lot higher than what we would have had with Cam Fancher. So to me, I feel a lot more confident with the offense in the late third quarter, early fourth quarter. I think if Taven Jackson would have started the game, I think it would have been different. We would have had a whole game to settle in and do this. So to me, I feel a lot more confident about our offense because of the late third quarter and early fourth quarter. We've got talent on the field. We know that, right? I also feel like, and this is what I said earlier too, people are undervaluing Jack's State and the talent that they fielded, against us. Most of their players were 3- and 4-star players. We were not playing a cupcake per se. So I actually feel better about that because when you dig into the roster, and I didn't say this when I was going to with Brandon, but Curtis Perry was a former UCF player. We talked about the other player, Fagans, that because of the big hit that he had. But Curtis Perry was a UCF player in Gus Malzahn last year. He was also playing for Jacksonville State. And I don't remember if it was Tim or Mike, who's like, their defensive line were all 4-stars. So we weren't. This is not the days of a Conference USA team like the talent we were able to get, right? This is different. These are 4-star high school players that are playing for Jacksonville State, and Jacksonville State has been a successful program over the years. We said that last week. They've played over 100 years. They've averaged 10 wins. They are UCF back when we were in Conference USA. That's who Jacksonville State is. So, it's.
I know they're talented. I think we should have dominated them. Like, I don't even want to give them an excuse. Like, yes, Jackson State has some guys, but we are night and day a better roster than them. Like, that shouldn't have even been a close game. The fact that it's a close game is really what worries me. It's not how, I told you guys, first game, it might not look smooth. It's going to be sloppy. We were sloppy our first game offensively. We scored a lot of points, and it's going to be sloppy, especially with the delay, especially with the quarterback change, especially with the rain.
Really sloppy.
People forgot, it rained most of that game. It rained half of the game.
I didn't forget I was there.
I'm saying it to the sense of that changes a lot. I mean, I saw receivers were a little bit more hesitant in the routes. I saw running backs, besides Miles, the other guys were a little bit more hesitant. I just think, does Jacksonville State have talent? They do. I'll never discredit that. But if we're going to talk about all the 4-stars on their team, we have 4-stars on our team too. And if we're equal to Jacksonville State, if that's what we're going to use as a bar, then we're going to have a long season again. And I think that is that's the reality of it. They're talented, but I think our talent should supersede them. I don't really go off.
And I'm not saying expectations should be different for UCF. What I'm saying is that the Jacksonville State team that we played was not your typical Conference USA, what we think about when we were in Conference USA type team as far as talent is concerned.
But they should be beating UCF 10-3 going to the fourth quarter team. They're not that
absolutely
good.
Not.
Like they're not that good. They're good, but they're not that good. So I don't.
Shouldn't even been.
This isn't the game to use to as a bar to me. Like
Yeah.
even
Well,
no matter
I
if
guess
we
that's
beat
my
them by
point,
50 or lost by 50, I think once we play teams who I feel, are equal in talent, I can tell. Like this is almost the trap we fell into last year. Like yeah, we dominated these bad teams. The moment we played anybody equally talented or equal scheme, we were getting the brakes beat off of us, and they were like, "Oh, are we really that good of a team?"
Were we really getting the brakes beat off of us? I think we lost 3 or 4 games by less than 3 points.
Yeah,
We weren't getting we were losing games
sure,
in the fourth.
Of course, the numbers, yes. But when you watch those games, it was we run the ball. If we can't run the ball, we're going to lose. That's not a good team. If we can't make interceptions or even turn to look on for the ball on defense, we can't tackle or we're not getting off blocks. I don't even need to see the score to know if we played well because the stuff you do that good teams do, we're not doing it. Like our offense last year was RJ Harvey, run us to a win, and whoever that quarterback, I pray that you can make good passes this game. That's not the formula for winning football. That's just not what it is. In this game, it was Taven Jackson played
Saves
great,
the day.
and Miles Montgomery. I mean, he scored our 2 really good plays, but they got called back for penalties. Like it doesn't.
Oh well, I mean this could have been completely different game if we wouldn't have had those penalties called back. That's why I'm saying like that's what I want to see out of this NCAA game. Like you're not gonna be able to read a lot. What I want to see is us be able to go tempo, us be able to not have both on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball, not have offsides penalties because it killed both of like. Every time we had, and under Cam Fancher too, we were moving the ball, and then all of a sudden we had something be called back, right? Because honestly, it should have been a 21-0 game going into the half.
Yeah,
that's what it should have been.
And to be honest, we shouldn't even think anything different of that. Like that's what they're supposed to do. Like you're supposed to take care of business, And that's why it's hard to gauge these warm-up games, as we call them, because what do you really take away from the numbers part? Like it looks like we dominated them numbers wise, besides the final score. Like I think we had more passing yards significantly. I think they might have more.
Oh, we put up yards.
Yeah, like they went great on third down. They were amazing on fourth. Like that part we looked fine. It's just the execution.
Statistically, it looked way better than it was though.
Yeah, like in that. Yeah,
until you look at the penalties and all that shit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The red zones were the problem, and a lot of those drives were killed. Right. I mean, we had 11 and 13 play drives killed by penalties.
Yeah. Untimely penalties. That's something that Frost said after the game in his press conference. It was weird. It was like the amount of penalties weren't like so terrible. It was the timing of those penalties. They really killed us. Like the momentum. They were momentum killers.
Yeah, like a false start on 4th and 1 when that's the worst time. And it looked like, to be honest, we were going to do like a little tush push quarterback sneak. That's the worst time to jump offside. Like the holding's on a long touchdown run. Like that's the worst time.
That's what I'm saying. The fundamentals, like you got to get
what we talked about last week.
The
fundamentals of it.
Yeah.
There's the 2 things I'm looking for. I agree with Roger what he said earlier. I mean, I need to see better line play on both sides of the ball. I mean, the offensive line, they better have getting their butts kicked in practice this week because they did not show up against Jacksonville State. I felt like
neither did the running backs from blocking.
Yeah, the running backs did not block very well. That's definitely true. It's true on the 2 biggest sacks of the game were missed blocks by the running back, I should say. So that's one. And then the second thing that I want to see is North Carolina A&T. They've lost their last 5 games. They lost the first game of the season by at the end they missed a field or they got a field goal blocked. But one of the things that they did is they gave up some explosive plays from the other team. And that's what I'd like to see out of us as well. I'd like to see us get a few explosive plays, and then not give up that on the other end. I think those are the two things that I'm looking for, which is, I understand is kind of a large end of the spectrum there, but I'd like our lines to truly dominate the game like I asked for last week. And I'd like to see explosive plays out of our offense.
Yeah. So, all right, let's go back over. We'll do score predictions now. The score predictions. So let's go over.
It reflects.
Pivot.
Let's swiv it. Swiv it.
Swim it right out of that.
Not swivel. We're gonna swiv it. So our score predictions for week 1. Let's go over those. The winners for this week were Ben and Alan. Ben had 42-10 UCF. The difference was 25 points. Josh had 48-10, 31 points.
Got one right.
Trey had 45-13, 31 points. Alan had 35-17, difference 25 points. Andrew had 44-12, difference 29 points. And the guy who's sandbagging the season, me, coming in last, 56-10 for 39 points. So let's go ahead and get our score predictions in for this week. So I'm just going to go the same way we went, the same order we went last week. Ben, you started us off last week. What is your score prediction for this week?
So I wrote down earlier, I'm just going to stick with it. I'm debating between 3 and 7 for the other team, but I'm going to say 45-7. So I do think we are actually going to get some explosive plays, and we are going to be able to put up some points this week. I debated whether or not to give them kind of a garbage time touchdown, or our defense steps up and holds to a field goal, but I feel a lot better about this. I mean, there's 0 spread on this game. You can't find a spread anywhere, and I think there's a reason for that. It's not the opponent that we faced last week, and it will be the worst opponent that we face all year. And so I'm hoping that we can get back to some of those fundamentals that you guys have called for, and dominate on the line and get some explosive plays. So 45-7.
All right, Tim, I've added you to our notes. So that means you're going to have to show up every week, come heck or high water, and give us.
Show up when you buy us a steak dinner, too.
Yeah, exactly. So Tim says 42-17. And remember, I control the rules, which means I can change them midway through the season.
Always do.
All right, Josh.
However Roger sees fit.
Exactly. Josh, 48-10 last week. What are you saying this week?
Let's run it back. Let's listen. I did a little bit of research on North Carolina A&T, and they lost a close one. They could have tied it up at the end of the game with the field goal, and they didn't last week and lost. I'm just gonna run it back. It has to work one time, right?
All right. So 48-10. Josh.
Yeah, 48-10. We'll try it again.
All right.
See what happens.
Nobra is quasi here, but is not. So I'm going to skip him this week. Trey, you had 45-13 last week. What do you say for this week?
I'm going to go 42-3. I think it's going to be dominant performance. I think we'll see some more fireworks we were expecting. And I think they're going to handle business this week. 42-3.
All right. We'll get Alan's later on. Andrew, what is your prediction for this week?
Oh boy, I think I'm going to go lower on the score. I'm going to say like 32-7 or something like that.
32-7. All right. Nobra did chime in the chat. He said that he was going to go 24-10 UCF, which leaves me. And I'm going to, you know what? I think that Scott Frost is pissed off this week. I think we get TJ for a full game. I think that defensively we're going to, continue to hold it down. So for me, I think that we're going to go 56 to, I'm going to go 56-10 this week.
Oops, you typed that in the wrong spot.
Oh, I did. Whoop.
Or at least you overwrote. You wrote over Tim's prediction. There you go. You got it.
Yep. Command
Sorry,
Z.
a little behind the scenes there.
So I went 56-10 last week. I'm going to run it back again. Do I think it'll be closer to 48-10? Probably, but I don't want to closest to the pin with Josh, so I'm just going to say 56-10. I'm going to run it back. If I have to buy a steak dinner, I'm good with it, as long as it's a dub. All right. Mark has entered now. Okay, so Mark, we're going to add you in here too, which means you have to show up every week and stick around.
We don't have guest pickers here yet. Is Mike in here? I saw him earlier, but
yeah, well, I don't think Mike put anything in here. But that being said, that means that you guys, if you lose, remember you owe us a steak dinner. So I'm going to hold you to that. All right.
do we have fans with more than 4 letters in their name? I don't know. Is that
Well, I don't know. I mean, we've got Mike, Mark, and Tim. We've got a few other people. So let's go ahead and swiv it to other UCF news. This was going to be Alan's segment, or this part of the segment. So let me go ahead and bring up the Big 12 scores for this week. Now, some of the teams have already played 2 weeks. As well.
Andrew knows.
Yeah, as Andrew reminded us consistently.
Big game coming up for the Kansas Jayhawks this week.
We don't
Doesn't
care.
get any bigger.
Are you guys playing
Missouri.
K-State this week?
Missouri.
Missouri.
It is the border war.
Rivalry game, right?
I gave you guys a lesson the other night in the in the chat, our little group chat.
All right. So far, the Big 12, we talked about the Big 12. So Iowa State obviously won against Kansas State. They won again last week. They are 2-0. Kansas Jayhawks are there with Iowa State at number 2 because they haven't played any conference games yet at 2-0. The Arizona Wildcats are won their game. The Sun Devils won their game. BYU 69-0. I mean, that's the BYU. You're going to have to look out for them again this year. Houston won 27-0. The Oklahoma State won 27-7. TCU 48-14. Are they still playing, or is that game over?
Oh, that game's over. I think it was 48-14.
Yeah.
Good for TCU. Thank you.
Yes.
Texas Tech 67-7. UCF obviously 17-10. Utah won 43-10. West Virginia won 45-3. Baylor lost 24-38. The Bear Kittens lost 17-20. They should have pulled that game out. They were driving again on the last series. Colorado lost 20-27. That was an interesting game to watch. And K-State is 1-1. And believe it or not, points for 59, points against 59. So that's interesting. So we'll see how this all goes. But I think UCF wins this game. And I'll say it again that I think that they will win again next week as well. So UCF, we mentioned we had a $10 million donation on the table last week. That was put on the board agenda for last week. There were some legal issues that came up, but UCF is still expected to get a $10 million donation, so $2 million per year for 5 years for a field sponsorship is nice. What that is for. So I would expect that's going to come back in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So look out for that. Keep your eye on that as well. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and swiv it yet again. Swiv it to our listener love section. Our new subs, we had 7 new subs this past week. Unfortunately, I am not able to call them out because they have their privacy settings set, but welcome to those folks. Texas recruited 4888 says on his comments, he's the GOAT. He brought in more than $1 million. That's actually from one of our episodes for probably, I don't know, 8-10 weeks ago, where he was talking about our GM and him bringing in more than $1 million. And he was right. We were asking whether that was a good hire, given the social media frenzy that we had at the same time. So shout out to Texas Recruited 4888. Thank you for watching one of our older episodes and commenting. We hit you back. And welcome to UCF Uncut as well, who joined us this week. So there's been a flurry of activity on the comments here that I have not seen. Mark says the Big 12 pundits are all saying that the thing like UCF field the worst power team in the nation, and that Frost's return will be a disaster. UCF will prove them wrong. I agree. Last week I ended the show with a diatribe on who we are and having that chip on our shoulder. I think we will get that back. Tim says, Josh, just admit it. You're donating $10 million. Good for you. If he's donating $10 million, he needs to pay me some money.
If I could, I would.
Yeah, Mark says, what's the over-under on another rain delay on Saturday night? We're not even going to talk about that.
Don't put that mojo out there. Come on.
Yeah, exactly, Mark.
I'm looking at the weather now.
Last week, I will say this. Last week, there was a 15% chance of rain going into the day. You saw how that turned out. It's a higher chance this week. So I'm not even going to say that. Alan had to dip a little. Yeah, exactly. So with it, Alan's oxymoronic stat of the week, we don't get this week. He had to dip, but we do have Josh's sometimes funny fact of the week. So Josh, take it away.
So we're playing North Carolina A&T this week, and just like every other football team in the nation, they recruit Florida athletes. So are you taking the under or over? We'll do this in the chat, and we'll do this on who I guess Trey is gone too. Whomever's left in the video.
Trey's on an iPad and he runs out of juice. I don't think he figured out that a power cord plugs into the wall and into the iPad to let him keep going.
Yeah, it's 2 minutes. It's at 2 hours every single time. Are you taking the over and under? Does NC&T have 7 Florida players on the roster?
All right, AP from KC. Let's start there.
I would say no.
All right, Ben?
I would say yes. Everybody recruits from Florida, and they try to get anybody who they can from Florida to go up to NC. So I'd say yes.
Given that Josh asked the question this week, I'm going to say yes as well. Josh?
All right. I'm not seeing any in the chats and comments. That's okay, because you're going to get the answer anyway. The under wins it. It is 6. Two of them,
trick question.
Yeah. It's 6, but more than I expected. Braxton Thomas actually is their starting quarterback. He's from Riverview in Sarasota, Florida, and it seems to be more of a passer than a rusher by statistics. I haven't watched tape. I'm not Trey or Roger, or any of you, but it seems to be more of a passer than a rusher. So that should be also good for our defense. Hence my higher score this year, this week actually. And Anthony Rucker actually is the only one from Orlando. He's a tight end from Jones High School.
So how many? Let's compare that to how many Florida people we have, right? On our roster. How many do we have on this roster this year?
That's Alan. That's an Alan question.
Wow. Okay. So,
I would say not as many as we would expect. How about that?
All right. Mark says they are the largest HBCU in the country. Fun fact. So Mark, shout out to Mark for adding to the Alan's fun fact of the week. Or oxymoronic stat of the week. I don't know. But that's interesting. I didn't know that as well. So they're the UCF. 3 times larger than BCU. Interesting. Wow. Didn't know that either. Thanks, Mark. All right. Well,
where are they at?
What's that?
Where are they at? North Carolina A&T? Where's the school?
What city? I don't know what.
It is located in Greensboro.
Oh, okay.
Right across the street from the China Grill.
There you go. All right.
All beef hot dogs and some funeral homes.
13,000 students. All right. So far
that's
cry
pretty
from
impressive.
ours, but there you go. Pretty impressive for an HBCU. It's kind of funny anecdotally. I was at a conference this past week, and I was talking to somebody who graduated from an HBCU. He's going to the Cows, or the Directionally Challenged School from West Central Florida, and for his graduate degree. So I was talking to him. He was a FAMU guy, and I was talking to him about the rivalry this week, and he was like, "I know that there's a rivalry, but I didn't know." So I sat there for probably about 15 minutes, which I shouldn't have, but I did it anyway, and educated him as to the Cows and all of the nefarious things that the Cows have done over the years. And he was like, "Wow, I didn't realize it was that big of a rivalry." I'm like, 100%, it's that big of a rivalry. It's not a rivalry in football now, but it is a rivalry between the institutions.
We need to bring it back.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let me ask that question. Do you guys think that we need to bring that rivalry back?
Yes.
Every Florida.
I don't care. We're in different conferences. We need to. That rivalry should be a war on I-4 should be every year. That's just my opinion. But
Josh,
it takes a long time to go to even out a record and have it be like a Florida State, or Ohio State, Michigan. It takes a long time for a rivalry to be a traditional rivalry, and that's the best one we got. We're never going to replace it. It is the best rivalry that we could hope for. So it needs to happen every year. That's just my opinion.
Well, actually, Josh, you're last but not least, so I'm going to go with Andrew first. Andrew, you have been through this rivalry for as long as we have, and have talked about it for longer. So do you think this is something that we should bring back?
As much as I hate to say it, yes. I've always been, I was like, oh, good riddance, I've just grown to hate them so much over this time that I've spent talking about UCF football.
Is it a Missouri-Kansas level of hate or no?
No, that's that goes back 100 and something years. So, and that's literally a political war, in the Civil War as well. So that was the big, much different thing, obviously, but it is. Every time I go to Tampa, I'm just like, oh, I don't like being here. I don't like seeing these green, and I don't even like see the license plates. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I just wish that they were on the same level as us in a way. I think that would obviously make the rivalry bigger. Then again, I'm glad that they're not on the same level we are.
All right, let me say this about that. Boise, really? Boise, really? You ruined the graphic.
Yeah, that would have. I was bummed that they didn't pull out that game. That's crazy.
All right, Josh.
So I do not agree that they could be our best rival. Unfortunately, our best rival is UF, and we kind of didn't do well in the swamp, and I'm not going to be happy with Gus and company for that. But truth be told, in most sports, UF is a rival, and one that they're not beating us a lot. Even football, last 2 games 1-1, and we'll see what happens in the future. They haven't beat us in soccer, women's soccer, in baseball. 5 or 7 years. Baseball has been a while. Basketball, we might have beaten them the last time we played them. I don't remember. They won't play us a lot of stuff. I get it. It doesn't help them, but they also don't seem to win a ton when we do play them for the most part. So I don't think that's our best rival. I do feel like the traditional Miami, UF, FSU, those would be better. But we have what we have. And I was driving into campus for something recently and saw a USF plate, Cows, whatever. I think it was because they were going to they were going probably to the exhibition game for the volleyball game, and I didn't like it. So, it needs to come back. 100% needs to come back, and needs to come back.
I said it was the best rivalry available to us, John.
Available is fair.
playing Florida in football every year isn't something that is ever going to be available to us.
Ever?
Do
you really
I
think
don't
that's a strong statement, Ben? Do you really
playing
think
Florida in football every single year when literally it's written into the state constitution that Florida and Florida State play every year? Like an out-of-conference opponent for Florida is mandated every single season. And like all of a sudden they're going to add another. I mean, unless of course we're in the same conference, then maybe it's something different. But if we're in different conferences, then no, I would say it would never.
Well,
be
I mean, the SEC did bow recently to the Big Ten and are going to play a 9-game conference schedule now. So as of right now, that put the UCF out of conference game in question, but as of right now, it's not.
They're not even going to play us in their scheduled game. It's not going to happen every year. I don't think ever. But the USF one is one that we could continue right now. It's got branding behind it. It's got a genuine hatred between the fan bases. Like all of us who grew up in the state of Florida, like if you were a fan of any school but Florida, for instance, you hated Florida. But like if you went to UCF and you became a UCF football fan anytime in the 2000s, you hate USF. Like it's a genuine feeling. I mean, obviously not a violent feeling, but it's a genuine feeling of fan hatred. And we're not getting that with anywhere else. Like we're annoyed. We roll our eyes. We want to, of course, beat a team like Florida every time we play them, but like we hate USF. Like
so, I will like my take on it is this. I think if it's an out of conference game, I'm cool with it. Right, bring the cows back. I just if I had the choice, I wouldn't. What I would rather us focus on as far as a rivalry is from a rivalry perspective is, and I said this before and I'll say it again, the focus shouldn't be the cows. We should play the cows, but the focus shouldn't be the cows. And to be honest, the reason we're not playing the cows right now is because of the cows, right?
Yeah,
because they scheduled, I think it's like through 2029, they're out of conference schedule. So they don't have the ability. It's not like when we're trying to get on their schedule and they refuse to play us. It's not the same situation.
Sure.
However, I will say this, our goal as far as a rivalry is concerned, and I know that Mark said Cincy is our longest power conference rival now. I don't think that should be the goal. I think that we need to be thinking about, and Scott Frost talked about this in his interviews the last couple of weeks, about how we need to be thinking about the next version of college football, making sure that we're in that next version. So to me, it's whoever the strongest Big 12 program is. One, we need to be playing in the championship games, but because that's what builds a rivalry is games that matter for the conference championship. Yeah. But whoever the programs are, the 2 or 3 programs are that are top of the conference as far as brand is concerned, we should be focusing on those 3 and trying to build a rivalry with them. But I do agree. I think we should play the cows. I think it's a bigger boon to them than it is to us. But they are a rival. They're a natural rival. Let's just put it that way.
Natural rival is a better
natural rival, I think, is the best.
I mean, to your point, I mean, we started a little bit of a rivalry with Memphis there those few years because we were facing them every year in the AAC championship game. So
same way with Cincinnati, right? Cincinnati started doing that, and that was Mark's point.
More games that matter, more games that matter. Unfortunately, right now, like a game against USF wouldn't necessarily matter, except for that it's a rivalry game, which is the same is true, for FSU, Florida. I mean, the same is true what Andrew's experiencing, this weekend with Kansas, Missouri. I mean, this is like the games that it doesn't matter about the record. like a true rivalry game to me is like, it doesn't matter about the record. It doesn't matter about what the stakes are outside of that game. You want to beat them because you can't stand that fan base. You can't
Yeah.
stand that coach. You can't.
But that's the that right there is the problem, Ben. When we were playing them, when we were in Conference USA or whatever we were in, and they were in the Big East and all that, right? They had a fan base. They filled up their stadium. They don't anymore. That's the problem.
Yeah, but I mean maybe, but I don't know. Like they still would. It still would be a heated thing during the 2016, 2017, 2018, version of that
But
game.
we were in the same conference at that point.
Well, I know that was. I'm just saying. We'll just put a period at the end of the sentence. I think the war on I-4 should come back, but I
agree with you.
But I understand like why it's not right for us right now. But I would like us to. Honestly, I'd like the conversation to be started between Terry Mahajer or whoever the heck the AD over there.
Terry has come out and said that he would play them, but they don't have any room. And I do want to.
I'm just saying that let's start the conversation now to build out the framework to have room. I just like figure it out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, if we have to schedule out, 10 years in advance, let's look at 2035 and say, can we start then? I don't know. Like, I'm just saying that's a rivalry that should come back in my opinion.
So Mark says here, USF's president kept the Knights out of the Big East. 100% true. They also did a bunch of other things like blocked our medical school and dental school and a bunch of other things.
They're the worst.
And they are. They really are. And he says, and FSU and Miami kept us out of the ACC. Now, I wanted to bring this up. So this is a little bit of insider knowledge here. The guys here in the group don't know this, I don't think. I usually go to the kickoff luncheons. And so when Danny White was here, I asked him that question at one of the kickoff luncheons. I said, because we hadn't made it to the Big 12 yet. They were still exploring Big 12 and ACC. And I talked to him about that. Neither FSU or Miami kept us out of the ACC. Just so you guys know, neither one of them were opposed to us joining the ACC at that time. Now, what that looks like now, I don't know. But I can tell you when Danny White was here, he and I had a pretty candid conversation separately. And he's no longer at UCF, so I can say this. At the time, I couldn't talk about it. But Danny White told me point blank, he and I, just the two of us, that neither FSU or Miami were a roadblock for us to get into the ACC. He'd had the discussions with their ADs and their presidents. Neither one of them were roadblocks for us, unlike the Cows. So with the Big East. So, Mark, I know you said that in there, and I just wanted to point that out because you made that comment. You also said that the Cows are building an on-campus stadium. Finally, I think that's a thing. I think the biggest challenge with us with Florida and FSU is the size of our stadium. The challenge is
with a lot of opponents, especially out of conference.
We can't pay them enough.
Yeah.
We'd have to pay in the Citrus Bowl, and in the Citrus Bowl, we'd lose money by playing against them in the Citrus Bowl relative to playing at the Bounce House. So until the Bounce House is upgraded, as far as the number of people that it can seat, they can't sell enough tickets, in spite of the fact Orlando is now a UCF town. It used to be a UF town. And there's still a lot of UF fans out there. There's still a lot of FSU fans out there. And I think it would sell a lot of tickets, but we cannot sell enough tickets because our facilities aren't big enough for us to make it worth their while. Until that changes, that game will not be a consistent series. All right. We've beaten that one to death. I think we all agree that adding the Cows to the schedule would be fun. As a quote-unquote cupcake team, or part of our, hey, we're going to play a FCS plus a G5 plus a power opponent. So let's go ahead and swivot once again to Josh's sometimes funny fact of the week. Here, Mark says, we built a cut rate stadium for a comically low price. Most spend more on just expansions or upgrades. Yes, and we built that stadium at a time where facilities were a lot cheaper than what they are today. At the time, we did that because we didn't just build a football stadium. We were the only school in the country that built a football stadium and a basketball complex at the same time. That's why the football program was. And just a quick anecdote, we did have a conversation with the quote unquote COO of UCF football, David Hansen, and talked about the water fountains. I can tell you that was I can't say what was said because we promised him we won't put it on the podcast, but he was very candid with a lot of different things over the years. But I can tell you that was a business decision that was made by the AD at the time. It was not a mistake.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, let's go ahead and talk about this. The quick update on other UCF sports that Alan and Andrew do not watch.
And probably Trey too, but that's okay. So we have some great
Trey
updates.
watches it because he watches softball because of his wife, and he watches some of the other
that's
sports.
one sport that's not playing right now. The UCF women's soccer team is 5-0-0 on the season. They beat the Gators at Donald R. Disney Stadium last Thursday, which was announced in the football stadium for the maybe 10,000 who are left, and got a really nice roar, as they should. Before that game, Bershon was named as Big 12 Freshman of the Week for her LSU brace. So 2 more teams are left to play in Florida before Big 12 play, with the only game this week being at home versus FIU on Thursday, September 4th at 7 p.m.
And to add on to that, Coach Tiffany Sahadic, we will have her back on to the program. She said that multiple times. She's like, hey, love the conversation. Let's get back on and do that. I'm just happy for the women's soccer team because the last season, nobody was happy with. Yeah. And Coach Tiff she's a competitor. She was a competitor as a player, and she's a competitor as a coach. And this is the first time ever that UCF has been 5-0 in women's soccer. Yeah. So super excited for them, and hats off beating LSU, UF, and everybody else that we've played so far. So hopefully we keep that going.
And I will say, we in another conversation relatively recently, sometimes it comes up to luck, and sometimes you make your own luck. It's a lot of sports is about making your own luck too. So I'm just really excited for the team, and I hope there's a couple more Florida teams that they need to play, and we'll see what happens there. For her internal goals, it was 5-2 through the non-Big 12 part, non-conference, and they're going to get there and hopefully better.
I'm hoping they are 7-0 because I think they have a real good shot at it.
Yes,
I'm knocking on wood. Literally.
Unfortunately, men's soccer in not so much, but they keep playing top 25 or close to top 25 ranked teams and coming up short. So men's soccer is 1-3. 1-3-0 if you want to add the ties in. They beat University of Texas Rio Grande Valley at home 4-0 and lost to number 23 UNC Greensboro 2-1. So up next are the Cows in Tampa on Thursday, September 4th at 7 p.m. So if you're not in Orlando watching the FIU game with the women at UCF, then go to watch them hopefully beat the Cows. Another team that is undefeated so far is UCF Volleyball. They are 3-0. They beat Chattanooga in 4 sets and swept Norfolk State and UC Riverside. The Chattanooga win was Coach Matt Botsford's first win as the UCF head coach, and all 5 freshmen saw the court during that first game. The MVP of the Black and Gold Classic was Abby Schomers. She had an even 100 assists. She's been around the volleyball team for about 4 years now. So we have the elder statesman and the freshman all playing together.
The big thing is offensively, the players from last year are starting to find their groove. I think the big things is their serve errors. If they can reduce those, they will be a team to contend with. Last year we're under new leadership with the coaching staff, and the coach that we brought on, if you don't know, is very, very, very successful in the volleyball world. So I expect this team to get better and better over the next couple of years. But this year we've got a team that's playing much better offensively.
Yeah, I actually watched the UC Riverside game yesterday, or match, I should say, and I was impressed with the early season, kind of way that they went through that team.
And Mark actually in the comments has a good note about the minimum of different sports, and you put that on here. And maybe for another day, we should have a conversation of not having men's track, how that used to correlate to having really fast football players, and whether that makes a difference anymore with NIL, NIL, and all that stuff happening, because maybe they wouldn't be doing both sports. But for another time, great note though. You were correct. We
16
need more
sports, and what we've chosen to do with the money that we have is create more scholarships for the Olympic sports, including baseball, right?
Fair. So back to the UCF volleyball team, who's 3-0. They have 3 more games coming up on September 5th, 6th, and 7th. They are all played at the Ocean Bank Convocation Center, so more towards Trey and Allen's side of town, but they're not going to go to the games. I hope they do, but we'll see. They're going to play it's funny, it's all Florida teams too. They play Stetson at 1 p.m. on the 5th. They play Miami at 6 p.m. on the 6th. And they play FIU at 12 p.m. on the 7th, all in the Ocean Bank Convocation Center. So kind of home games, but not exactly home games for at least 2 of those 3 Florida teams. UCF cross country plays 3rd at the Florida Intercollegiate, and they have no more meets happening this week. UCF men's golf played 7th at the Island Resort Collegiate, with Clemente Silva placing 18th with a 7 under 209. They only play 3 rounds, not 4 at men's golf. No tournaments coming up this week. Both cross country and men's golf have meets and tournaments coming up in a few weeks. Women's tennis, Aya El-Ouani is ranked 54 in the ITA preseason rankings. She was 12.
Why did you not give that to Andrew? Andrew should have read that.
That's fine. We can do that. But she was 12-5 last year in singles, 16-7 in doubles. She's the first night in program history to win Big 12 Player of the Week honors. It was named to both the All Big 12 freshman, All Big 12 freshman team and doubles second team. I think those 3 words really fast. All Big 12 freshman team was a little too tight. And that's all I have for the quick update on other UCF sports that Alan and Andrew and sometimes Trey do not watch. Back to you, Roger.
All right, I'll say this. Silva also claimed the IPD Golf Open Tournament title for men's golf as an individual playing in that tournament. So we've got some quote-unquote ballers. I don't know if you can call them that on the green. But we've got some folks that can play some serious golf, so I expect a lot out of those folks this year. All right, 100 episodes in. Shout out to Mark, Mike, and Tim for loading up the comments this week. As
Hanging
you can
in
see,
here too.
What's that?
Hanging in here too. We're
I
about
know.
2.5 hours in.
Yeah, so I will say thank you guys for continuing to participate. Those that are commenting, thank you for continuing to participate. I want to bring Nobra in real quick. He's a big part of the 100th episode. AP, we would not have started this without you, so thank you for joining us. Brandon is a big part of this as well. We were slated to have Terrence Plummer on and a few other people, but some things had come up. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who shows up every week here and does the podcast with us. I also want to say thank you to Andrew for getting me started on my podcast and radio and everything else career. Our very first episode, I showed up with 9 pages of notes and he thought I was crazy. I do not show up with 9 pages of notes front and back anymore for a podcast, but I've learned so much. And I want to thank everybody who's in the audience. We would not do this without you. We do this because we like to talk sports. We do not make any money off of this, but we do it with you for the same reasons that you tune in. So we appreciate you commenting, liking, sharing, supporting. So please make sure you tell your friends, make sure you tell anybody, other fans that you see. And thank you so much for supporting us as we go this. We're growing. We're hoping to get to a point where we get 1,000 subs, so Alan will cut his hair because I will make him do that. But I just want to say thank you to everyone. We're all fans at heart, and we all want UCF to do well, and we've all put a lot of hours and time into this. So that includes you. So we appreciate you. We're looking forward to a football season of growth. I don't think anybody's expecting a championship team, conference championship team this year, but we want to see movement going forward. And I just want to say 100 episodes. We hope to make 500 episodes at some point. I'll be even more gray and have less hair. But I appreciate all of you for doing this with me, and Ben and Andrew and Rob, who started this with us, and Alan, who puts the notes together every week, and Trey, who joins us, and everybody who was guests, and then obviously Nobra for doing all the editing and everything. He's a UCF student. He's in his senior year. He does this with us, and we've educated him quite a bit on UCF.
That's fair.
But just thank you, like, subscribe, share, and we appreciate you because we wouldn't be doing this without you. Go Knights and
Charge on. It was
Charge
all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine, Salt and Pepper and Heavy D up in the limousine.
Rap